By 2100, technology had reached unprecedented heights. Breakthroughs in life extension research pushed human longevity further. A fitness craze swept across humanity in pursuit of youth. The rise of God's Domain, a holographic game simulating player movements, quickly made it the world's most popular game. Numerous God's Domain workshops emerged, driving financial groups' stock prices to soar. In 2100, several figures approached a gaming station inside the Shadow Workshop. A notification chimed, informing the player of account deletion. Seated in his gaming station, the player was stunned by the sudden notification. A stack of papers landed before him, a termination agreement. Shifeng rose as the suited man demanded his signature. Anger fueled Shifeng's steps, remembering his sacrifices for Shadow's rise. Gritting his teeth, he resented losing his account for opposing the guild merger, only to have his pay calculated. The suited man offered 5 million credits and a mansion, urging him to accept while the goons laughed. Sitting in the villa, Shifeng drowned in regret, recalling the immense value he brought to Shadow. He ripped the termination agreement, refusing to be discarded like a beggar. He downed the wine and sank into the sofa. He vowed to fight back, even if it meant starting over. The phone rang after a while. He woke up with a throbbing headache from drinking. He picked up, puzzled by Blackie's call. Despite his confusion, he answered. Blackie's voice came through, mentioning the Shadow Workshop's recruitment at their school. Shifeng questioned if Blackie was joking, given his recent firing. The phone slipped from his grasp. Shocked, he stared at his reflection, while Blackie asked about his drinking. He kept staring, bewildered by his youthful appearance. Ignoring Blackie's calls, he checked the date. The screen displayed April 19, 2129. Realization hit. He had returned 10 years to the past. He arrived at school, stunned by his second chance. He silently vowed to take revenge on those who betrayed him. Blackie excitedly urged him to sign up without hesitation. Blackie, puzzled, listened as Shifeng refused Shadow and proposed starting their own workshop together. Blackie stiffened, confusion replacing his cheerful expression. Shifeng recognized Blackie's potential but also his financial burdens, knowing he had to persuade him. Blackie voiced his concerns about the high cost despite Shifeng's determination. Shifeng insisted that joining Shadow meant losing their freedom, something he refused to accept. Blackie sighed, wanting the workshop but doubting they could afford the necessary equipment. Shifeng confidently promised to secure the equipment and test the game for 10 days, but Blackie remained skeptical. Shifeng, unwavering, assured him that 10 days were enough and money wouldn't be an issue. Shifeng later stocked up on groceries. He gathered the necessary gaming gear. In his room, he carefully equipped his gear, ready to dive into the game. With a deep breath, he prepared to enter God's Domain. Instantly, he connected to the game without issue. Nostalgia washed over him as he took in the familiar login screen. Soon, a radiant angel descended above him. Introducing herself as Gabriel, she welcomed him to God's Domain. Various class icons appeared as Gabriel guided him to choose his preferred job. Without hesitation, he selected the swordsman class. He retained his former in-game name, Yifeng. He modified his avatar's appearance to conceal his identity. He chose White River City in the Star Moon Kingdom as his starting point. Its strategic location and future potential made it perfect for leveling up unnoticed by major guilds. Once confirmed, Gabriel announced his transfer and wished him well. As the countdown ended, he vanished into the game world. Moments later, he found himself in Redleaf Town. He scanned the bustling surroundings. The once quiet town now teemed with eager players. The crowd marveled at the world's striking realism. He moved to a corner and examined his stats. His stats revealed a level 0 with 4 attribute points. He recalled focusing on strength before but decided on a different approach now. He allocated points to agility, knowing it suited melee jobs early on. The boost in movement and attack speed would greatly aid in melee combat. Blackie called, sharing his class choice and arrival in Moonfall Town before asking Shifeng's location. He mentioned being in Redleaf Town and offered to help Blackie level up, but the long travel time made Blackie hesitant. He reminded Blackie of their goal and questioned if leveling alone could meet their needs, receiving a doubtful response. He hinted at a unique quest, instantly sparking Blackie's interest. He soon arrived at a dimly lit area. Twilight Alley greeted him with rundown buildings and rough-looking people. He drew his sword without hesitation, sending nearby beggars scattering. Blackie grumbled about the time he'd waste reaching Shifeng. Curiosity flickered in his eyes as he wondered about Shifeng's knowledge. A grin formed as he suspected Shifeng had insider help. Shifeng simply urged him to come, promising faster leveling. Eventually, Blackie agreed to the plan. He approached a man lurking in the corner and inquired if he needed assistance. The man pleaded for food, revealing he hadn't eaten in days. He apologized, unable to provide food, but offered his services for the right price. The man's demeanor shifted as he requested the mayor's assassination. A notification popped up, signaling a unique quest. He accepted the quest without a second thought. A towering structure dominated Redleaf Town's skyline. Inside the town hall, players lined up for newbie quests. The mayor sat behind the desk, summoning the next adventurer. A glance at the mayor's stats confirmed he was beyond Shifeng's reach. Undeterred, he hurled a tomato at the mayor. The surrounding players stood frozen in shock. A notification confirmed the mayor's growing hostility as he seethed with rage. The mayor lunged at him with murderous intent, but Shifeng calmly thought of the players, soon bidding the mayor farewell. Shifeng had arrived in town 15 minutes earlier. Players steadily made their way toward the town hall. The queue for newbie quests stretched far beyond the hall. Shifeng showed up near the long line of players. A player, noticing his hesitation, suggested he join the queue to avoid trouble. A faint smile crossed his face. He thanked the player but advised against wasting time and suggested finding quests elsewhere. Annoyed, the player dismissed him, having seen others leave with missions. Remaining composed, Shifeng hinted at better opportunities in the wilderness for faster growth. The player, unconvinced, argued that the wilderness was crowded, making the wait worthwhile. Leaning closer, Shifeng mentioned a place for faster leveling. The player's face lit up, eager to explore if it was real. Shifeng held out his hand, requesting 20 copper as proof of sincerity, making the player suspicious. Without concern, he lowered the price to 10 copper up front and the rest after verification. Reluctantly, the player agreed, choosing to trust him this once. With the deal settled, Shifeng set out to find what he needed for the mayor's defeat. Before long, he bought several tomatoes. Spending 10 copper on tomatoes stunned the onlookers. Laughter erupted as they mocked him for wasting copper on fruit. Eventually, he arrived at the town hall. Inside, players lined up, requesting newbie quests. The mayor sat at his desk, summoning adventurers. Shifeng moved in from the side. With a serious expression, he took a bite of a tomato. In an instant, the tomato flew at the mayor's face. The players froze as he hurled insults, declaring the mayor unworthy. The mayor, furious, crushed the tomato and demanded an explanation. Tomatoes kept flying at the mayor, leaving him no chance to react. He hurled them relentlessly, his speed almost unreal. Watching in disbelief, the players realized his fearlessness bordered on madness. The mayor, his face smeared, clenched his teeth and marked him as an enemy. A smirk crossed his face, knowing the real show was about to begin. A furious roar erupted from the mayor, sending chills through the crowd. A sudden warning flashed above his furious expression. His eyes widened, sensing the shift in danger. The mayor lunged with overwhelming force, pushing him to his limit. He staggered back as his HP took a hit. Gasps filled the air as they saw him withstand the attack with just a beginner's sword. His rage boiled over, eyes glowing with fury. A monstrous roar escaped him as his body tore through his clothes, revealing his true form. With a snarl, his human disguise fell away, exposing the werewolf beneath. In a flash, he sprang forward, his speed terrifying. Just then, knights arrived, mistaking him for a threat and launching their assault. A sly grin spread across his face. Provoking the mayor without striking ensured the guards saw him as a threat. The guards pressed on, whittling away his HP with relentless strikes. Encouraged by the mayor's struggle, the players sprang into action. The swordsmen charged forward, standing beside the guards in the fight. Spells rained down as the mages unleashed their magic in succession. Strike after strike landed, forcing agonized howls from the beast. A spear pierced its chest, draining its HP with one final roar. At last, the creature collapsed, lifeless. Frustration spread as no loot appeared, and all eyes searched for the tomato-throwing culprit. Meanwhile, in Twilight Alley, he toyed with the item he'd secured. He casually tossed it to a beggar, whose grin widened in satisfaction. In gratitude, the beggar handed him a box. His reward included XP, mastery points, and a luxurious accessory box. The generous rewards left him stunned, suspecting it was due to his low level. He eagerly opened the box, anticipation written all over his face. A blinding beam of light shot upwards. The brilliance forced him to shield his eyes. As the light faded, an accessory materialized, the ring of gravity. Delighted, he laughed, amazed by the ring's impressive stats and its skill, gravity unbound. Once he collected himself, he checked his stats. Boosting his agility once more, his speed now rivaled a pure assassin's. Next, he leveled up his one-hand sword mastery, advancing to junior swordsman, raising his damage. He then set his sights on the Goblin Challenge, hoping for a skill book. In the arena, a player rushed headlong into a group of goblins. Frustration mounted as players cried out, "The goblins too tough," forcing them to pay again for another attempt. A player was riddled with holes from a brutal attack. Once resurrected, he asked if anyone had any money left. His companions called him Boss Heartstabber, awkwardly admitting they were broke, having given him all their money. Shirfong recognized the name Heartstabber, the top assassin in the kingdom. Heartstabber's eyes lit up, an idea forming. He introduced himself as the squad leader of the Assassin's League. He nonchalantly asked to borrow 5 copper, promising repayment the next day and an invite to his guild. Shirfong agreed, muttering about getting the money back. Heartstabber smirked, thinking Shirfong wouldn't press for repayment with the guild offer in play. But when Shirfong asked for 50 copper, Heartstabber nearly choked in disbelief. Heartstabber's underlings muttered, annoyed at Shirfeng's ignorance in not recognizing their boss. Unbothered, Shirfong asked if he still wanted the money, to which Heartstabber eagerly agreed. With a smile, Shirfong completed the transaction, adding Heartstabber as a friend and reminding him about the 50 copper. He walked off, leaving Heartstabber's group fuming in frustration. After Shirfong left, his underlings debated whether to gather the 50 copper, wondering if they could return the next day. Heartstabber, however, was resolute. As a squad leader, he couldn't avoid his debt. With determination, Heartstabber resolved to complete the challenge that day. Seeing his resolve, his underlings rallied behind him with support. As they focused on a goblin, one of the underlings caught sight of something moving at the edge of his vision. He told Heartstabber that Shirfong had joined the challenge. Heartstabber clicked his tongue, thinking Shirfong overestimated himself and underestimated the challenge. The countdown began. The challenge was about to start. A deafening gunshot echoed in the air. Upon being teleported, Shirfong charged forward without hesitation. The goblins launched their attack. Undeterred, Shirfong charged straight into the hail of bullets. A goblin clamped its jaws onto Shirfong. Swift as a phantom, Shirfong dodged the incoming bullets with astounding speed. His speed was so incredible that he effortlessly avoided every bullet. One of Heartstabber's underlings muttered that Shirfong was faster than his boss. His comrade silenced him with a sharp elbow, as Heartstabber believed Shirfong must be a martial artist or athlete. Heartstabber thought Shirfeng's skill suggested he was a veteran, not an ordinary player. Shirfeng's simple but effective movements made Heartstabber wonder if he could match that skill. Still, Heartstabber grinned, confident Shirfeng's luck would run out when the goblins changed their attack pattern. Soon, Shirfong reached the 15-yard line. The goblins revealed their new weapons. The goblins unleashed a continuous barrage of bullets. A storm of bullets filled his path. Drawing his sword, Shirfong smiled, wondering if it was finally his turn to cheat. He charged forward, sword raised, facing the bullets head-on. Heartstabber's underlings laughed, mocking the rookie for thinking he could block bullets with a sword. The bullets kept coming. A swift slash through the air deflected the bullets. Finally, Shirfong swung his sword, effortlessly blocking the bullets. With that, he pressed forward undeterred. Heartstabber's eyes widened in disbelief, while his underlings stared, wondering if Shirfong was even human. Shirfong kept running, swinging his sword with precision. Determined, he pressed on, resolved to reach the finish. Heartstabber's underling couldn't hold back any longer, noticing Shirfong was almost at the 25-yard mark and closing in on the finish. In frustration, Heartstabber smacked his underling's head, unable to hold his own anger. After a moment, Heartstabber regained his composure, realizing the game had barely started, yet one player was already dominating. Shirfeng's control over his character was nothing short of monstrous. Heartstabber yelled, warning Shirfong to be careful. The goblins switched to miniguns, certain this would send the challenger to respawn. The weapons roared, unleashing a barrage of bullets. Heartstabber cursed, feeling a sting in his chest as he saw the goblins' relentless determination to stop any player from clearing the challenge. Chaos erupted in the arena as bullets wreaked havoc wherever they landed. The goblins were resolute in their intent to eliminate the challenger. Yet, Shirfong remained unstoppable with his sword. A single swing of his sword cut the bullets in half. Amidst explosions, Heartstabber saw nothing but chaos in the arena. Heartstabber and his underlings sweated nervously as the situation unfolded. Despite the explosions, Shirfeng's figure soared into the air. He was close to reaching the end. His feet touched the ground. Shirfong landed at the finish line. The goblins' hostility vanished as they waved their hands and celebrated, congratulating Shirfong for clearing the challenge with a bronze rank. Shirfong was granted 1 silver, and the swordsmanship skill, Thundering Flash. Heartstabber and his underling cheered from the sidelines, acknowledging Shirfeng's victory. Exhausted yet happy, Shirfong smiled after receiving his rewards. Lost in thought about his new skill, Shirfong didn't notice 3 figures lurking behind him. Heartstabber and his underlings admired Shirfong, their eyes gleaming with respect. Shirfong smiled, bidding farewell and reminding Heartstabber about the 50 copper he owed. As Shirfong walked off, the underlings smirked with greed, asking Heartstabber if they should seize Shifeng's rewards. Heartstabber punched each of his underlings, scolding them to focus on gaining Shifeng's favor, not stealing from him. After acquiring the talent book, Shifeng found himself in a forest, determined to train properly this time. A woman passed by a group recruiting for an immortal team for Redleaf Forest, urgently seeking one more damage dealer to complete their group. Walking by, she overheard Shifeng grumbling about having only 30 copper left after buying 20 explosive berries, realizing he needed to hunt monsters to earn more. Shifeng stood in Redleaf Forest, eyeing the area with a recommended level of 1. He spotted a team with 2 warriors tanking, a ranged damage dealer, and a healer. Shifeng figured experience would be split among the 4, but their hunting efficiency was high, and their method was safe. The heavy death penalty in God's domain meant players lost a level and their equipment. A warrior noticed Shifeng, claiming the spawn point was theirs, while Shifeng clicked his tongue, dismissing the idea of wasting time on low-level monsters. Continuing on, Shifeng reached the level 5 area, confident his strength was more than enough to handle the monsters there. Spotting a bear, Shifeng hesitated, aware of its high defense and HP, and its ability to summon more bears, so he decided to avoid it. Nearby, a forest wolf drank peacefully from the lake. Shifeng recognized the wolf's agility and high attack power. He readied himself for the fight. Taking a step forward, Shifeng considered the lone wolf easy prey, but the nearby water raised concerns of a wolf den. The ground beneath him suddenly gave way. He nearly lost his balance and fell. Yet, Shifeng's agility allowed him to swiftly correct himself. He landed safely, unaware of the gleaming eyes watching him from the shadows. Suddenly, Shifeng turned, sensing something behind him. Wolves emerged from their den, bearing their fangs at Shifeng, who cursed, realizing there truly was a den nearby. Shifeng sprinted away, chased by the wolves, regretting his earlier words. A wolf leapt, aiming to attack Shifeng from behind. Shifeng dodged the attack with a quick leap. Landing swiftly, he planted his feet, channeling his energy into a gravity liberation skill. Shifeng bolted, kicking up dust and debris in his wake. Abruptly, he halted, out of breath. Wiping the sweat from his brow, Shifeng felt he had finally shaken off the forest wolves. Shifeng arrived at the central mountain range, where the recommended level was 6. Realizing he was in the central mountain range, Shifeng remembered the forums mentioning a secret silver chest at its peak and smiled, eager to claim it. Moments later, Shifeng paused in his tracks. Pausing before a waterfall, he believed the chest was hidden nearby. Looking up, he knew no path led up, only a hidden skill, flying steps, which required over 40 agility to use. Luckily, he had the ring of gravity to aid his climb. Focusing his energy into his feet, he prepared to leap. He jumped with incredible height, nearing the peak quickly. He barely reached the top, grabbing the cliff's edge. He pulled himself up, twirled in midair, and landed atop a rock. A massive rock hand suddenly rose behind him, startling Shifeng. He smiled, knowing what was about to appear. A towering golem materialized behind him. The level 5 rock giant roared ferociously. Reaching into his inventory, Shifeng grabbed an item, telling the giant it was prepared just for it. He retrieved an explosive berry. The berry would slow movement by 30% and turning by 70% for a minute in a 3 by 3 yard radius. Jumping to dodge the golem's attack, Shifeng prepared his next move. He hurled the explosive berry. It landed at the golem's feet. The berry exploded, emitting its debilitating effect. With the debuff in place, Shifeng circled behind the giant. Charging forward, he brandished his sword. He struck with his sword, raising his chop proficiency. With the monster slowed, Shifeng could safely practice his skills without taking damage. Another dodge, and he realized this was the perfect spot to level up. The giant swung a massive punch at him. Jumping and twisting in the air, Shifeng dodged, causing the giant's punch to smash the ground. Still airborne, Shifeng readied his sword for a strike. He unleashed a flurry of slashes at the giant. The golem roared in pain as Shifeng's strikes landed. An explosion rocked the mountain. The golem collapsed, knocked unconscious by the explosion, as Shifeng walked away undisturbed. Shifeng sat on the fallen rock giant, feeling lucky for obtaining the ordinary gorgeous cloth shirt. A swarm of bats appeared in the air. Shifeng noticed them immediately. He followed their flight and saw them heading toward a cave. The cave was dark and deep. Shifeng moved toward the cave. Once inside, he glanced back to assess his surroundings. Soon, he reached the cave's end, where sharp, blood-red rocks jutted out. In front of the rocks sat a massive sleeping golem, with Shifeng standing before it. The golem, Shrews, was an elite level 6 monster. Shifeng readied himself, amused by the presence of the giant. He anchored his feet, gathering strength. He slashed repeatedly, thinking a level 6 elite was manageable. Shrews flinched as Shifeng's strikes landed, causing damage. Shrews awoke, his eyes gleaming. Shurfong was surprised to see that his attacks barely scratched Shrews, depleting only a small amount of health. Shrews lunged at Shurfong, calling him a puny human. Shrew's punch was so strong that it shattered the ground beneath him. Shurfong dodged the punch and leapt into the air, summoning an explosive berry. While preparing to throw the berry, Shurfong thought Shrews was a bulky opponent with high health, but his agility could wear it down. Shrews suddenly noticed something. Spotting Shurfong above, Shrews threw another punch, but Shurfong dodged and tossed the explosive berry at Shrew's feet. The berry exploded, and as its effect spread, Shurfong landed swiftly. Shrews attempted a stomp, but Shurfong leapt, swiftly charging at him with his sword. Gritting his teeth, Shurfong steeled himself. He unleashed a flurry of slashes on Shrews. Shrews roared in pain, but Shurfeng's attacks barely left a mark. Shrews swung a fist to counterattack, but Shurfong stepped back and avoided it. Shurfong slid as he landed. Out of nowhere, Shrews regained 18 health points. Realizing his mistake, Shurfong remembered that elite enemies regenerate 2% health every 5 seconds. Both charged, and Shurfong realized his regular attacks couldn't keep up with Shrew's rapid regeneration. Before Shrew's punch landed, Shurfong threw 2 slashes, thinking he had no choice but to use Thundering Flash to whittle down Shrew's health. Shurfong landed on Shrew's left arm, and Shrew's fury was palpable. From Shrew's arm, Shurfong launched more slashing strikes. Grinning, Shurfong felt his strategy was working. Shrews released a blast of energy, sending rocks and Shurfong flying. Shrews leapt into the air, arms raised, promising to crush Shurfong into pulp. When Shrews landed, he slammed his fist into the ground, shaking the earth, and Shurfong feared it was time for the boss's party wipe move. A massive explosion erupted, sending rocks and debris flying. Shurfong jumped from rock to rock, dodging debris and slicing others mid-air. Dust swirled as rocks crashed, and Shurfong landed amidst the chaos. As the dust settled, Shrews was revealed, standing at a distance. Seeing Shrews remain still, Shurfong wondered if it had entered a fatigue state. Fatigue followed ultimate skills, weakening attack, defense, and regeneration. Shurfong realized this was his opportunity. He charged toward Shrews without hesitation. Shrews punched the ground to shake Shurfong off, but Shurfong leapt from rock to rock and lunged at Shrews. While airborne, Shurfong raised his sword, aiming to strike Shrews. Shurfong drove his sword into Shrew's eye. Shrew screamed as he swiped at Shurfeng's eye, but Shurfong jumped out of the way. Shurfong unleashed a series of slashes. After striking, Shurfong leapt back. Shurfong hit the ground. Shurfong aimed for Shrew's leg. Shrew crouched, punching the ground towards Shurfong. Smoke began billowing from Shrew as he overheated. Shrew suddenly rose and launched another orb of energy. Shrew vanished without warning. Shurfong tensed, unsure of Shrew's whereabouts. Shrew reappeared behind Shurfong, catching him off guard. Unable to dodge, Shurfong raised his sword to block the punch. The punch was so powerful, it cracked the ground beneath Shurfong. Shrew's swing sent Shurfong crashing into the wall at lightning speed. The force of the impact left a deep hole in the wall. Shurfong struggled to rise, coughing blood. With only 2 HP left, Shurfong wiped the blood from his mouth, preparing to stake everything. Shurfong charged, activating Gravity Liberation. He followed up with Thundering Flash. As Shurfong passed Shrew, he unleashed a powerful slashing aura. Turning back, Shurfong raised his sword, determined to deliver the final blow. Shurfong hurled his sword from behind, piercing Shrew's body. Shrew crumbled as Shurfeng's sword dug deep into the earth. Items scattered around Shurfeng's feet. Picking up the items, Shurfong grinned at the windfall, equipment, and a skill book. The skill book was for parry, a melee ability to block a single frontal attack with a 30-second cooldown. Shurfong learned the skill, deciding to keep such a valuable life-saving ability for himself. Moments later, Shurfong equipped his new gear, ready to scale the mountain. Shurfong activated Gravity Liberation, leaping toward the mountain top. Shurfong landed smoothly at the peak. At the top, Shurfong spotted a village, sensing something was off. Unsheathing his sword, Shurfong noted the thick fog, unfamiliar at this height. The system notified Shurfong of the Lost Lands, triggering the Hidden Past Glory quest, disabling communication and preventing departure until completion. Contemplating the quest, Shurfong remembered hearing about a mithril treasure chest, but never a hidden quest in his past life. The quest details only directed him to explore, a guideless quest, reminding him of something he'd seen on the forums. Shurfong recalled special missions in God's domain, triggered only in certain areas, and sealed once completed. Walking through the village, Shurfong remembered players boasting about this on the forums, never expecting to stumble upon one himself. Deciding to go all in, Shifeng explored the village, ready to face whatever came, even if it meant dying and respawning in the city. Shifeng stepped into a nearby house. He started inspecting the items inside, searching for the quest clue. Frustrated, Shifeng slammed the wall, realizing there were no NPCs or clues, and he'd waste too much time exploring. Shifeng decided he couldn't waste time in the crumbling houses and needed a higher vantage point. He climbed onto one of the house roofs. Reaching the roof, Shifeng scanned the surroundings. Despite the fog, Shifeng kept his gaze fixed ahead. Squinting, Shifeng watched as the fog began to clear. In the distance, a mage tower emerged from the fog. Moments later, standing before the mage tower, Shifeng thought it had appeared from the fog after he gained a high vantage point, likely where the quest led him. Upon entering the tower, a voice greeted him as a young adventurer. The old mage welcomed him to the city in the sky. Surprised, Shifeng realized he was in the lost city in the sky, wondering why it had reappeared after vanishing in the Third God's War. The mage called him a warrior from afar and offered to help him grow stronger, asking if he'd accept his test. Shifeng eagerly agreed. The mage started explaining the difficulty levels, but Shifeng cut him off, choosing the hardest challenge without hesitation. Having been reborn, Shifeng knew he couldn't back down from such a challenge. The mage chuckled, impressed by Shifeng's determination. The system detailed the mission: defeat 1,000 monsters, kill 50 to pass within 4 hours, or suffer a permanent 10-point penalty to all attributes. The mage reminded him not to regret his choice before vanishing. Dark energies began rising from the ground moments later. The energies summoned a swarm of level 2 Spectre warriors. They rushed forward without hesitation. They charged towards the mage tower. The mission began. The 1,000 monsters raced toward the mage tower. Standing on the balcony, Shifeng realized rushing down recklessly would make him an easy target. He needed a narrow space to fight the monsters one at a time. An idea struck, and he rushed inside the tower. He leapt off the balcony, aiming for the center. He landed on a set of stairs. He saw only 2 monsters could pass at a time, giving him the chance to hold them off and complete his task. 2 monsters charged forward, their eyes gleaming and roars ferocious. Shifeng slashed, reducing their health by half. The system notified him of his progress: only 40 of 500 killed. Slashing on, he reached 90 kills. As he kept slashing, the monsters climbed, and his kill count reached 150. He continued, reaching 310 kills. He threw some monsters off the stairs, bringing his total to 370 kills. Sticking to his strategy, he reached 400 kills, realizing the task wasn't as hard as it seemed. Suddenly, level 2 Spectre assassins appeared, agile enough to leap onto the stairs. While battling a Spectre warrior, 2 assassins landed behind him. Shifeng reacted quickly. He kicked them off, breaking their bodies apart. Landing his kicks, he defeated another Spectre warrior. He dodged an attack from behind, leaping towards the railings. He plunged his sword into the Spectre warrior's neck. Another assassin attacked from behind, causing his HP to drop. He kicked the assassin again, irritated by the sneak attacks. The assassin fell, while the last one glared menacingly. At 420 kills, Shifeng sighed, cursing the agility of the last 100 monsters, but relieved by their fragility. His expression darkened as 5 assassins attacked from behind, gathering energy at his feet. He moved swiftly, leaping off walls to strike with slashes. He ascended at incredible speed. Reaching the ceiling, he used the ceiling's force to dive down rapidly. His attacks crumbled the assassins. The noise from the mage tower ceased. The bodies of the assassins lay still. Trembling, Shifeng gripped his sword tightly. He knelt, breathless and wounded, as the system confirmed the mission was complete with 500 kills. Covered in sweat and injuries, he struggled to catch his breath. The sudden appearance of the old mage startled him, though the mage casually commented that it wasn't bad. A notification popped up, marking the mission's completion with the title Past Glory. He also earned a precious gold chest, and the title 1,000-1. The old mage vanished after granting his rewards, telling him to leave. Reaching out, he tried to stop the mage, asking for a moment more to talk. Meanwhile, in a quiet alley of Red Leaf Town, a portal opened above, and he fell from it. He crashed face first, startling a nearby warrior who cursed and yelled that someone had fallen from the sky. Still in disbelief, he lay there, unable to comprehend his return to Red Leaf Town. He dashed into a secluded alley. He checked to make sure no players were nearby. He pulled out the gold chest, wondering what treasures it contained. The system prompted him to open it, and he eagerly clicked to confirm. The alley was flooded with bright light. Shifeng was left stunned, cursing under his breath. He couldn't believe he had received the Abyssal Blade, a magic weapon, with the system asking if he wanted to bind it. He recalled that magic weapons could boost strength but carried the risk of backlash, possibly crippling an account if mishandled. Prioritizing stability, he decided against binding the weapon. Shifeng considered the potion and forging skill books the most valuable rewards, planning to head to Dark Moon Valley next for a free forging quest and easier leveling. He headed to the Red Leaf Town trading area, deciding to buy some items to better prepare for the dangerous blacksmith quest at his current level. He examined the equipment in his inventory. He selected the unused equipment and set his prices. Setting up his old gear in the trading area, he saw it as a chance to sell off extra items. As he called out about his rare herbs and high-level equipment, people started gathering. A player couldn't believe someone was selling bronze-level gear. One player marveled at Shifeng's luck, selling bronze gear while still in beginner equipment, but his companion noted he was the one who killed the level 15 elite mayor. The player cursed, frustrated they couldn't get mayor quests anymore. He then asked for a discount, but Shifeng refused, saying the prices were fixed. Out of nowhere, a player named Black Clouds Engulfing the Sun invited Shifeng to a video call. It was Blackie, looking worried as he told Shifeng he'd been trying to reach him without success. Blackie asked where he was, and Shifeng apologized, explaining he'd been busy with quests, telling him to meet in the central square later to level up. Flaming Tiger, the leader of the Shadow Group, barged in, ordering everyone to clear the way as they intended to take everything in the stall. Flaming Tiger asked if he was the stall owner. He turned to Shifeng, who confirmed he was the stall owner. Shifeng recognized Flaming Tiger, recalling how, in his past life, he was often used as a pawn and decided it was time to repay him. Flaming Tiger aimed his axe at Shifeng's neck, offering him a silver coin in exchange for everything at the stand. Unfazed, Shifeng told Flaming Tiger no bargains, suggesting he leave if he wanted to roleplay as a young master. Flaming Tiger, enraged, warned Shifeng not to make enemies of them. Surrounded by Flaming Tiger's group, Shifeng thought him as foolish and vicious as ever. Appalled, Shifeng wondered if Flaming Tiger still didn't know fighting was forbidden in town. Flaming Tiger swung his axe, warning Shifeng that he had a death wish. Suddenly, a clap rang out, and a voice commented that the level 5 bronze shield was interesting. It was Heartstabber, who asked how Shifeng could leave the Assassin's Alliance out of the deal. He called Shifeng Big Shot and mentioned they had met again. Heartstabber handed over 24 silver, agreeing to buy everything Shifeng was selling. Shifeng appreciated Heartstabber's straightforwardness, saying there was no need to return the 50 copper, and suggested they add each other as friends. Blackie arrived, squeezing through the crowd, and called out to Shifeng, saying he'd finally found him. Heartstabber was startled when Shifeng mentioned his friend had arrived. Shifeng walked away, telling Heartstabber he'd see him later, leaving him hanging. Heartstabber sighed, disappointed that Shifeng was leaving, wishing they could talk a little longer. Blackie asked where they were heading, and Shifeng mentioned they were going to grind monsters at Dark Moon Valley. Blackie was alarmed at the mention of Dark Moon Valley. He warned Shifeng that the area was inhabited by level 4 monsters. Blackie questioned if there was a safer place, but Shifeng reassured him to follow without worry. One of Flaming Tiger's group members asked if they were letting Shifeng go without interference. Flaming Tiger, seething, instructed Quiet Wolf to keep an eye on Shifeng, planning to make him regret crossing Shadow. In the forest, Blackie asked if they were truly heading to Dark Moon Valley, a level 4 monster territory. He questioned how they could hunt higher level monsters alone, with Shifeng at level 2 and him at level 0. Shifeng retorted, asking if he was backing out instead. Shifeng reminded Blackie that he knew a closed beta expert, without whom he wouldn't have the courage to train. Blackie, still doubtful, questioned whether the expert could be trusted. Shifeng reminded Blackie that only 10 hours had passed since launch, and most elite players were still level 1, while he reached level 2 with beta test info. Blackie admitted he had been foolish and decided they would risk everything. But then, something caught his attention. Shifeng continued walking, and Blackie hurried to catch up, unaware they were being watched from behind. Quiet Wolf overheard and, hearing about Shifeng's challenge in a level 4 zone, found it suspicious. Quiet Wolf grinned, thinking it was unfortunate for Shifeng to have crossed his path. As they walked, Blackie spotted something and told Shifeng to look an unusual blue-named monster. They saw a level 2 cunning snow fox, carrying freshly caught prey. Blackie was startled when Shifeng unsheathed his sword, amazed at his luck in finding a rare blue-named elite monster. Shifeng charged ahead, instructing Blackie to DPS from range while he handled the rest. Blackie hesitated, reminding him the elite monster matched his level. As the snow fox ate, Shifeng hid behind a rock. Shifeng struck with a surprise slash, knocking the snow fox back, but it only lost 32 HP. The snow fox landed on all fours, skidding to resist being pushed back further. Seeing the meager 32 damage, Shifeng noted how sturdy the fox was. Shifeng braced himself as the snow fox charged at him. The snow fox lunged at Shifeng, using its fatal blow skill. Shifeng tried to block with his sword, but the snow fox sank its fangs into it. They exchanged blows, Shifeng dealing 5 damage to the fox, while it retaliated with 49 damage. Shifeng gritted his teeth, realizing the snow fox was tougher than expected. Watching the fight, Blackie cursed, certain Shifeng was finished. Shifeng shouted at Blackie to stop dazing and attack the fox. Hesitant, Blackie finally agreed to attack. He fired a dark arrow. Blackie's attack hit, making the snow fox scream in pain. The attack fizzled, dealing only 5 damage. Blackie noted that he invested in intelligence for spell power, but the elite monster's defense was overwhelming. Shifeng pressed on, telling Blackie not to worry as he would draw the aggro, just keep attacking. Blackie followed orders, bombarding the snow fox with multiple 5-point dark arrows. The snow fox suddenly attacked, and while Shifeng blocked with his bracer, he still took 55 damage. Shifeng kicked the snow fox, sending it flying. Quiet Wolf observed, thinking they were trash who didn't know their limits, certain he wouldn't need to intervene. The snow fox, with half its HP remaining, sized up Shifeng, who was nearly out of HP. The snow fox lunged, but Shifeng blocked the attack with his sword. The fox's sharp teeth sank into the sword, causing the system to notify Shifeng of its impending destruction. Blackie muttered they were done for, certain this would be Shifeng's first death. Shifeng kicked the fox in the stomach, forcing it to release his sword. He sent the snow fox flying with a kick, ordering it to move. Despite his confidence, Shifeng thought he would be in trouble if this continued. As the fox charged, Shifeng realized it was time to use his ultimate moves. Shifeng leapt into the air, dodging the snow fox's attack. He opened a bottle while still in mid-air. He drank the bottle's contents while still in the air. The bottle fell, shattering upon impact with the ground. The mysterious iron beer lowered his enemy's levels by 2 as he landed, and he saw the cunning snow fox now at level 0. Wiping the drink from his mouth, Shifeng realized his level 2 and saw the snow fox at level 0. This was his chance. He focused his energy into his legs and charged at the snow fox rushing toward him. His sword slashed, sending the snow fox flying with the force of the blow. He planted his feet firmly, steadying himself. His sword struck repeatedly, each blow causing over 30 damage. Blackie, astonished, cursed and asked what Shifeng had drunk to become so powerful. Absorbed in battle, Shifeng simply muttered that it wasn't enough. He gathered his strength and swung his sword. As the snow fox soared, Shifeng charged, determined that this would be the final strike. A heavy stomping sound echoed, though no creature was visible. The dust revealed something had stepped down. He noticed and quickly glanced behind him. A blade sliced through the air with incredible speed. He narrowly avoided the blade by tilting his head back. As he jumped back, a figure began to materialize in front of him. Quiet Wolf, at level 2, commented that Shifeng was good at dodging his attack. Recognizing him, Shifeng remarked that a leopard never changes its spots. The shadow bastards were still the same. The snow fox trembled in pain, its body surrounded by a faint energy. The energy flared, causing the snow fox to grow larger. The snow fox's gigantification boosted its power, speed, and health by 20%. Its fangs bared menacingly at Shifeng. The snow fox lunged at Shifeng, who swiftly dodged by leaping aside. Blackie, worried, warned Shifeng to watch out for Quiet Wolf's pincer attack. Quiet Wolf charged, warning Shifeng not to anger Shadow while attacking him. Shifeng, alarmed, saw Quiet Wolf's intent. Quiet Wolf grinned, telling Shifeng to go to hell. The snow fox roared and leaped at Shifeng. Shifeng kicked the snow fox aside, sending it off in a different direction. The fox, stunned, teared up as its attack veered toward Quiet Wolf. Shifeng clenched his teeth, glancing behind to see the outcome. Quiet Wolf, horrified, saw the snow fox pounce toward him. The snow fox bit Quiet Wolf without resistance. The fox spat him out, slamming him into the ground. Lying with depleted HP, Quiet Wolf wondered how everything had gone wrong. Blackie, equally stunned, cursed and asked how Shifeng had pulled that off. Shifeng snapped at Blackie, urging him to focus and keep attacking. Following orders, Blackie attacked as they both bombarded the snow fox, which could only scream in pain. As Shifeng leaped back, the system announced the rare elite snow fox was slain, granting 10 XP. A blackwood staff dropped. Shifeng offered Blackie the staff dropped by the snow fox. Blackie sheepishly acknowledged that without Shifeng, they couldn't have defeated the snow fox. Shifeng questioned Blackie's politeness, explaining that as a cursemancer, the staff suited him, and it was useless for a swordsman like him. Grinning, Blackie took the staff, and Shifeng approved of his reaction. In Red Leaf Town, someone yelled, calling another a useless piece of shit. Flaming Tiger struck Quiet Wolf, questioning his failure against a level 2 swordsman. Quiet Wolf feared Flaming Tiger's wrath, knowing he'd be kicked out if he revealed his failure. Quiet Wolf told Flaming Tiger about a rare elite he found, only for Shifeng to interrupt just before his kill. Quiet Wolf explained that Shifeng wasn't alone, but if Flaming Tiger pursued them to Dark Moon Valley, he could retrieve the elite monster drops. Flaming Tiger grinned at the mention of the rare elite. He ordered the group to move out immediately. Flaming Tiger fumed, vowing to make Shifeng regret his actions in God's domain. In a small house, a blacksmith worked tirelessly at his forge. Shifeng and Blackie watched as Blackie asked if they had to wait longer. Shifeng confirmed that it was the only way to trigger the quest. 10 minutes later, the blacksmith turned, inquiring if they were interested in forging. Shifeng, relieved, told the blacksmith that he had always been interested in forging. Shifeng received the system notification about the hidden quest, Road of Forging, and the task to gather 100 meteorite ores for Forge Master Jack. Moments later, they arrived at the Crimson Star Mine, inhabited by level 4 kobolds. A smoke bomb was deployed, obscuring the area for a 10-yard radius for an hour. Shifeng threw the smoke bomb at the kobold group. The kobolds showed no reaction as the smoke spread around them. Shifeng told Blackie to attack. Nervously, Blackie shrugged, accepting death if it came, given his level 0. Blackie launched a dark arrow. The arrow struck a kobold in the chest. The kobold, taking 21 damage, searched for the source of the attack. The kobold glared fiercely as it scanned the surroundings. Blackie, nervous, trembled under its gaze. Shifeng reassured Blackie that the smoke bomb reduced the kobold's vision, and their poor eyesight meant they wouldn't attack from a safe range. As Shifeng said, the kobold continued searching, unaware of Blackie's position. Frustrated, the kobold roared. Shifeng urged Blackie to stay calm and keep attacking as the kobold searched again. Blackie followed orders, shooting another dark arrow. The kobold cried out as Blackie's arrows struck it repeatedly. The kobold collapsed, causing the others to grow cautious. As Blackie kept firing, he cursed, finding the leveling process too easy. Blackie launched another dark arrow. One arrow struck, while the other missed. The missed arrow hit another kobold, landing a direct blow to its face. Blackie grinned, continuing his barrage. Blackie felled the last kobold in the area. Covered in sweat, Blackie drank a potion to recover. Blackie reported the kobold's drops, including meteorite ore and a level 3 cloth armor, while Shifeng noted the drop rate was 1 ore per 100 kobolds. Shifeng smiled, impressed by Blackie's luck, as he'd only slain a few kobolds but already scored ores and equipment. Shifeng moved on to another area, signaling Blackie to follow. Shifeng landed before a new group of kobolds. The kobolds eyed Shifeng menacingly. Shifeng dropped a smoke bomb and ran to lure the kobolds away. Blackie kept attacking, thrilled by the success. They gained 40 XP per kill, steadily leveling up. They upgraded their gear, with Blackie at level 2 and Shifeng at level 3. After defeating more kobolds, Blackie found a piece of bronze equipment, excitedly showing it to Shifeng. Suddenly, the rapid tap of footsteps approached. Blackie froze as a shadow appeared, signaling an attack and prioritizing the cursemasters before Shifeng. Alarmed, Shifeng warned Blackie to watch out. Several slashing attacks were launched. 3 assailants struck Blackie with 73, 68, and 52 damage. With his HP reduced to a quarter, Blackie glared at the attackers, recognizing them. Quiet Wolf and his group smirked at Blackie's recognition. Blackie readied himself, vowing to take them down with him. Quiet Wolf charged, mocking Blackie's attempt to kill him so easily. Blackie's attack landed, dealing 185 damage, leaving Quiet Wolf severely wounded. Blackie wondered if his level 3 dark arrow really had such power. Quiet Wolf urged his group to take Blackie's gear, noting his low HP. Quiet Wolf noted Blackie's damage, impressed by his level 2 strength and good weapon. Blackie braced for the fight, confident they were finished. Slashing attacks suddenly flew, but they weren't from Quiet Wolf's group. The attacks hit them, reducing their HP to 0 instantly. Quiet Wolf cursed upon seeing the devastating blow. Shifeng stood confidently before Blackie, who lay on the ground. Blackie stared at Shifeng, in awe of his strength. A few more figures appeared, rushing toward the scene. Flaming Tiger and his crew arrived, berating Quiet Wolf for losing 3-on-1. Flaming Tiger charged at them, vowing to show the consequences of angering him. A smoke bomb was suddenly thrown to the ground. Flaming Tiger and his men halted, shielding themselves from the smoke. Shifeng advised Blackie to retreat. A man reported Blackie and Shifeng's escape, but Flaming Tiger dismissed the chase, wanting Quiet Wolf to join for leveling. His men hesitated, questioning if the level 4 zone was too dangerous for their low levels. Flaming Tiger explained how Blackie used the kobolds as target practice, urging them to watch and learn. Flaming Tiger ordered the warriors to lure the enemies into the smoke, and they followed his command. Flaming Tiger commanded the long-range attackers to strike, and they complied. One man praised Flaming Tiger's brilliance, claiming he'd be the top player in the guild, while another corrected him, saying he'd rule the entire domain. Flaming Tiger was pleased as each kobold death netted them 2% experience, even while sharing the loot. Flaming Tiger imagined Shadow Workshop dominating the domain, with him at its helm. A man notified Flaming Tiger of a rare swordsman's skill book drop, and he urged them to keep hunting. Shifeng observed the fight, while Blackie questioned if they would just watch. Shifeng explained they would let them enjoy it for now, but sorrow would follow. Moments later, the smoke began to clear. A man alerted Flaming Tiger as the smoke cleared, to his surprise. His men trembled as the kobolds' menacing glares locked onto them, warning Flaming Tiger. The kobolds' eyes gleamed as they saw Flaming Tiger's men reflected within them. The kobolds' eyes glinted menacingly, ready to strike. Flaming Tiger's men panicked, informing him that the fog had cleared. One kobold leaped and charged at them. It swung its axe, slicing one of the men. More kobolds rushed forward to attack. The kobold struck, taking down Flaming Tiger's men one after another. Alarmed, Flaming Tiger commanded his men to retreat. His men were already under attack, screaming in pain. Flaming Tiger cursed inwardly, lamenting their losses as his men would drop back to level 1 after death. 2 kobolds roared ferociously. Spotting Flaming Tiger and a man fleeing, the kobolds leapt to strike. Flaming Tiger narrowly dodged a kobold strike, leaping into the air. A blast rocked behind Flaming Tiger as he sprinted away. Flaming Tiger ran, seemingly alone, into the distance. Out of breath, Flaming Tiger glanced back, relieved to have outrun the kobolds. Suddenly, someone appeared, greeting Flaming Tiger as they met once more. Shifeng appeared and, addressing Flaming Tiger as a brother tycoon, questioned why he was alone and if his underlings had been defeated by the kobolds. Flaming Tiger's anger flared upon recognizing Shifeng. Flaming Tiger, axe raised, leapt to strike Shifeng, furiously accusing him of scheming against him. Flaming Tiger's attack was intimidating, yet it only struck the ground. Surprised, he searched for Shifeng, baffled by his disappearance. Shifeng had already positioned himself behind Flaming Tiger, delivering a sharp slash. Smirking, Shifeng taunted Flaming Tiger, wondering what he was aiming at from behind. Enraged, Flaming Tiger swung his axe, but Shifeng dodged easily. Flaming Tiger swung his axe once more, swearing to kill Shifeng repeatedly until his level dropped to 0. Flaming Tiger unleashed a barrage of attacks, but Shifeng evaded each one. Shifeng landed gracefully, while Flaming Tiger, panting heavily, struggled to keep up. Flaming Tiger, out of breath, cursed Shifeng, demanding he stop evading like a coward. Agreeing with the accusation, Shifeng mocked Flaming Tiger, inviting him to hit him as he stood still. Flaming Tiger charged forward with immense force, calling Shifeng a crazy bastard and vowing to kill him. Before Flaming Tiger could strike, Shifeng unleashed Thundering Flash, hitting him with multiple damaging blows. Flaming Tiger, enraged, absorbed the attack without flinching. Lying defeated, his HP drained, Flaming Tiger heard Shifeng mockingly remind him that while he agreed to stand still, he never promised not to counter, questioning his naivety. As Flaming Tiger glitched and vanished, Shifeng briefly thanked him for saving him effort by gathering so much ore. Furious, Flaming Tiger could only scream Shifeng's name in frustration. As he vanished, Flaming Tiger vowed he would never forgive Shifeng. The system announced Flaming Tiger's death at Shifeng's hands, his respawn in Red Leaf Town, a level drop, and a 100-point skill proficiency loss. Respawning in town with his group, Flaming Tiger demanded they snap out of it and tally their inventory losses. While tallying his own losses, Flaming Tiger noticed something unusual in his inventory. His expression darkened in anger when he discovered the skill book was missing. Flaming Tiger shouted at his group to head to Dark Moon Valley to hunt down Shifeng, but a video call invitation interrupted him. Flaming Tiger angrily accepted the call, demanding to know who dared disturb him and why they were bothering him now. Flaming Tiger recognized Brother Zhang's voice, apologized for his temper, and clarified the reprimands were for his subordinates, asking him not to take it personally. Brother Zhang, furious, told Flaming Tiger he was no longer squad leader, demanding he reach level 2 by Red Leaf Town or leave, as Shadow no longer needed useless trash. Flaming Tiger's concern grew when Brother Zhang abruptly ended the call. Realization hit, and Flaming Tiger's rage flared once more as he screamed Shifeng's name. Shifeng was analyzing his stats as Blackie retrieved the ores from the ground. Blackie joyfully pointed out the skill book left by Flaming Tiger, jokingly imagining his fury upon revival, while Shifeng bet it would make him furious enough to vomit blood. The skill book contained Wind Blade, which unleashed rapid sneak attacks and boosted the user's movement and attack speed by 15% and 10%, respectively, with a cooldown of 5 seconds. Shifeng explained that Wind Blade suppressed long-range attackers while buffing personal speed, making it a powerful tool for swordsmen. Blackie marveled at the skill, wishing for 2, but Shifeng told him he would have to wait for Flaming Tiger's next appearance. Blackie, picking up another ore, noted it was his first time seeing such a dark green rock. Surprised, Shifeng told Blackie it was a star crystal, a rare ore with only a 1% drop rate. Blackie's eyes widened with greed, realizing its rarity, and called it a precious treasure. Blackie was disappointed when Shifeng explained the rock's current worth, but reassured him its value would rise with time, advising him to forget it for now and understand later. Blackie smiled brightly, understanding Shifeng's words. The ores were neatly arranged before Forge Master Jack. Forge Master Jack casually remarked it wasn't bad. He told them they'd completed the first step but still had to prove their strength further. Shifeng was startled by a system notification, surprised to learn the quest had a second stage involving the elite Kobold Chieftain. The system detailed the second stage, Road of Forging 2, which required killing the elite Kobold Chieftain in an hour, the timer already ticking. Confused, Shifeng questioned why it was different from his memories, as he hadn't recalled the second stage before. Worried, Shifeng considered the elite Kobold Chieftain's strength, realizing players needed a team to defeat it despite its level 5 status. Blackie, noticing his reaction, asked what was wrong. Shifeng reassured Blackie it was nothing major, just a slightly difficult quest. Blackie, confidently, assured Shifeng that with his leadership, any quest would be easy. Blackie grew awkward under Shifeng's skeptical gaze, reminded of his earlier cowardice, and advised him to follow commands carefully and stay alert. At Crimson Star Mine, the kobolds gathered, the recommended level for this area being 2. Shifeng and Blackie stood ready as Shifeng signaled to begin. With a fierce look, Shifeng charged and unleashed his new skill, Wind Blade. Moving swiftly, he cut down kobold after kobold as he passed by. Meanwhile, Blackie launched Dark Arrow at the incoming kobolds. Surrounded by kobolds, Shifeng methodically cut them down, one by one. Raising his sword, Shifeng let out a battle cry as he swung. Blood splattered and screams echoed as the battle raged on. Moments later, fallen kobolds littered the ground, their blood pooling around them. Blackie noted how easy the mission seemed, but Shifeng reminded him that the main challenge hadn't come yet. The ground trembled as the mine shook. Alarmed, Blackie warned Shifeng that the boss was approaching. A massive foot crashed down, shattering the earth beneath. Shifeng looked up, recognizing the true target of their mission. A giant, threatening figure loomed above them. The level 5 Kobold Chieftain stood, armored and regenerating health every 5 seconds, impervious to knockbacks, dazes, and most attacks. Horrified, Blackie cursed, noting its massive HP and rapid regeneration. Shifeng reminded him that the quest had a strict time limit. The quest had 19 minutes and 47 seconds left. The Kobold Chieftain let out a furious roar. Blackie, terrified, questioned defeating the Kobold Chieftain. Shifeng admitted uncertainty but stressed the harsh consequences and their single chance at the hidden quest. Shifeng retrieved something from his inventory. Pulling out the Abyssal Blade, Shifeng told Blackie they had no choice but to give everything they had. Shifeng's eyes flickered with concern as he gazed at the weapon. He recalled the day the Crimson War God, armed with the Crimson Ghost Axe, slaughtered thousands of enemy guild members, rising to fame and founding the glorious War God Empire. But he also remembered how some had become slaves to their weapons, consumed by their power. The system asked if Shifeng wished to bind with the Abyssal Blade. Determined, Shifeng instructed the system to bind, confident that he wouldn't be outdone by others, especially after reincarnating. Dark energy enveloped Shifeng, with the system warning him that the binding was irreversible, and he'd bear all the consequences. A massive dark dragon materialized behind Shifeng, roaring as the dark energy surged through the Abyssal Blade and consumed his arm. The system confirmed that Shifeng had successfully bound with the Abyssal Blade. Shifeng's level dropped to 0, as the system announced the change. Worried, Blackie asked why Shifeng's level had dropped to 0. Despite the dark energy engulfing him, Shifeng reassured Blackie that he was stronger than before. The Abyssal Blade is a level 0 one-handed sword with skills Phantom Kill, Abyssal Bind, and 9 Dragon Slash, and is growable and evolvable, though its evolution feature is locked. The Kobold Chieftain roared again, summoning a swarm of kobolds. The kobolds rushed forward without hesitation. Shifeng ordered Blackie to hide, taking the responsibility on himself, and Blackie quickly agreed. The charging kobolds surged toward Shifeng, who readied himself for battle. Shifeng lifted the Abyssal Blade before him. With a flurry of slashes, he eliminated all the attacking kobolds in an instant. Blackie marveled at Shifeng's overwhelming strength. The Kobold Chieftain stomped at Shifeng, but he dodged by leaping aside. Enraged, the Kobold Chieftain glared at Shifeng. With a mighty swing, the chieftain's axe struck Shifeng. Blackie called out to Shifeng, worried for his safety. In response, Shifeng activated Phantom Kill. Phantom Kill created a doppelganger with 50% of Shifeng's attributes, and he could switch places with it at will for 30 seconds. The Kobold Chieftain looked confused upon seeing the doppelganger. Turning around, he saw Shifeng poised to strike. His figure was menacing as he lunged forward. Using Wind Blade, he struck with 105 damage. He unleashed a flurry of slashes, each hitting with 2-digit damage. He raised his sword, channeling energy for the next strike. Channeling Thundering Flash, he unleashed a barrage of slashing auras at the chieftain. The attacks hit with 128, 123, and 101 damage, causing the chieftain to scream as his HP halved. The chieftain's eyes gleamed with malice. It roared, activating Enrage, doubling its attack power. Grinning, he noted the boss's slow attack speed, confident he could dodge despite the power boost. The chieftain charged, swinging its axe at him. He dodged the chieftain's attack with a quick leap. Surprised, he saw the chieftain follow up with a punch. The chieftain activated Accelerate, doubling its attack speed. With incredible speed, the chieftain bombarded him, but he dodged effortlessly. Mentally, he clicked his tongue, realizing the chieftain's attack speed had spiked. Out of nowhere, something struck the chieftain's face, dealing 30 damage. It was Blackie, using Dark Arrow, taunting the chieftain to eat this. Disappointed, he thought how embarrassing it was that his skill dealt only as much damage as a normal hit from Shifeng. The chieftain suddenly turned its focus to Blackie. Shifeng shouted for Blackie to run. The chieftain lunged toward Blackie mid-air. Panicked, Blackie fell, cursing, bewildered by how little damage had triggered the chieftain's wrath. The chieftain swung its massive axe at Blackie. Helpless, Blackie shut his eyes, cursing, bracing for his first death. Suddenly, dark energy chains appeared. Blackie was confused as the expected attack never landed. Just as the attack neared, the chieftain was bound by Abyssal Bind. Abyssal Bind reduced the chieftain's defense to 0 for 3 seconds. Shifeng had cast the skill, relieved it was close. The chieftain broke free from the chains. Without hesitation, Shifeng leaped into the air. The chieftain, alarmed, saw Shifeng appear beside it, ready to strike. He swung his sword, activating Wind Blade. The strike hit the chieftain in the face with great force. As the chieftain was pushed back, Blackie fled, claiming he was outmatched. The chieftain suddenly began channeling immense energy. Shifeng grew alarmed at the sight. He dodged the chieftain's swing by bending backward mid-air. The chieftain's attack was powerful and had a wide area of effect. He managed to evade and land safely. The chieftain gathered energy in its mouth. The energy formed a portal, releasing a horde of fierce monsters. The monsters charged toward Shifeng immediately. Seeing the countdown, Shifeng realized the chieftain was stalling with mobs. Realizing he had no choice, Shifeng decided to use 9 abyssal blades, unsure how long he could maintain it. Psychic power, a mental attribute, causes immense pain when overused, unlike stamina, which just paralyzes. Consuming all psychic power removes the player from the game and can have real-life consequences. Difficult battles and special skills drain it faster. Raising the abyssal blade, Shifeng pushed the thought aside. He activated 9 Dragon Slash. The skill created 9 illusionary blades, each dealing 30% of the original damage, lasting 20 seconds. The monsters bared their fangs and roared as they charged at Shifeng. The illusory abyssal blades tore through the monsters in all directions. The illusory abyssal blades regrouped after the battle. Shifeng pulled the blades closer, realizing, as expected, that controlling 9 was difficult. He sent the blades forward to continue their assault. The blades shot forward with incredible speed. The blades struck the Kobold Chieftain, causing it to scream in agony. The Kobold Chieftain's health plummeted, leaving just a sliver. The blades regrouped once more. As the blades drew near, Shifeng prepared for a final strike. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through Shifeng. The blades started to crumble under pressure. Shifeng was immobilized by a system notification, warning that his psychic power was too low, and he would soon be removed from the game. Seeing Shifeng kneeling, Blackie asked if he was okay. The Kobold Chieftain approached as Shifeng struggled to rise. Worried, Blackie urged Shifeng to stop pushing, reminding him they had only a minute left, and dying now would cost them too much. Shifeng, breathless, couldn't answer Blackie. Blackie's suggestion to give up reminded Shifeng of how the Shadow Group had discarded him. He recalled working tirelessly to build the Empire, only to be cast aside without mercy. Frustrated, he wondered if it was fate or luck that had brought him to this moment. He knew he couldn't give up now. Shifeng activated Phantom Kill, determined to rewrite his destiny. He braced himself, grounding his feet for momentum. Shifeng and his doppelganger surged forward, activating Gravity Liberation. They leapt into the air, charging straight for the Kobold Chieftain's head. They both charged forward at breathtaking speed. The Kobold Chieftain recoiled as they approached. Too fast for the chieftain to react, they pierced its eyes. The chieftain screamed in agony as they relentlessly attacked. The chieftain swung its axe, but they dodged it mid-air. Shifeng stepped on the doppelganger's sword as the doppelganger steadied him with an arm. The doppelganger swung his sword, propelling Shifeng forward with immense speed. Dark energy enveloped the abyssal blade. Shifeng unleashed Wind Blade, piercing the chieftain's chest. The chieftain began to fade as Shifeng delivered the final blow. The system informed Shifeng of the 50% XP boost after killing the level 5 elite Kobold Chieftain, granting him 2,350 XP. The system also congratulated him for being the first to kill a chieftain, boosting the drop quality by 200% and increasing the Star Moon Kingdom's prestige by 10 points. Blackie sulked, feeling useless once more. Shifeng exhaled, visibly relieved. Surrounded by drops, Shifeng eyed a skill book as Blackie approached, praising his feat. Shifeng grabbed the book, explaining it was a rare Cursemancer skill book from the boss. Blackie, disappointed, felt luck was meaningless if he couldn't help in battle. Blackie asked for help in mastering Cursemancers, hoping to become strong enough to aid Shifeng. Shifeng agreed and began with point allocation. Confidently, Blackie claimed Cursemancers only needed intelligence investment. Shifeng tapped his forehead, questioning where he had learned that. Confused, Blackie asked if Cursemancers weren't supposed to deal damage. Shifeng reminded Blackie of the axe nearly killing him moments ago, asking if he had forgotten. Blackie sheepishly recalled almost dying and admitted he hadn't forgotten. Shifeng wasn't surprised, telling Blackie he would have respawned without his help. Shifeng questioned the value of high damage if dead and advised Blackie to invest in agility for better speed and casting. He informed Blackie that the Kobold Chieftain had dropped many items, including a robe he could wear. Blackie was amazed when Shifeng gave him the rare skill book and urged him to take it. The Evil Whip skill binds a target with 5 thorns, dealing 20 base damage plus 30% spell damage. It has a 3-second cast time and a 20-second cooldown. Blackie's eyes sparkled, wondering if it was as powerful as his Abyssal Bind. Shifeng explained that Evil Whip had a 3-second casting time, requiring prediction of the enemy's movements. Blackie nodded, determined to train hard. Shifeng upgraded his gear, donning leather armor and black iron handguards. Blackie upgraded his equipment, wearing violet blood leggings and a violet blood robe. Moments later, at the blacksmith's hut, someone praised the young man's works. Ford Master Jack confirmed they had the right to inherit his techniques, and the system notified Shifeng of completing the Road of Forging quest, unlocking basic forging, talent, and 1000 refinement steel. Blackie marveled at the talent forging genius, and Shifeng explained that forging an item would earn him a chance to gain 2 proficiency points. Blackie found 2 points unimpressive and voiced his doubts. Shifeng warned not to underestimate the 2 points, explaining that 1,000 were needed to advance to an intermediate forging apprentice, and common equipment only granted 1 proficiency point. Shifeng mentioned that forging genius would save time and money in leveling up, prompting Blackie to agree that it seemed like an incredible talent. Smiling, Blackie asked if Shifeng could forge something for him. Shifeng sighed, explaining he would need blueprints to create equipment. Shifeng considered that the Deathly Forest would drop bronze equipment blueprints, allowing him to level up his forging skill while earning money by supplying beginners. As Shifeng walked away, telling Blackie to follow, Ford Master Jack was intrigued by something. His eyes were drawn to the abyssal blade at Shifeng's waist. Ford Master Jack stared in astonishment, wondering what it was. Shifeng and Blackie turned as Ford Master Jack asked them to wait. Ford Master Jack inquired if the sword was a magic weapon, noting it was cursed. Ford Master Jack feared Shifeng was already consumed by the Abyssal Blade's dark energy, and the curse had begun to backfire. Ford Master Jack, though an experienced smith, revealed it was his first time seeing such a magic weapon. Shifeng thought equipping the magic weapon had triggered a hidden quest, while Ford Master Jack, eyes twinkling, asked to examine it. Shifeng agreed, handing over the Abyssal Blade. Forge Master Jack recognized the blade, forged by Alax from the Fawn of the Black Dragon King, ranking 31st among the 36 famous swords in God's domain. Ford Master Jack explained that the Black Dragon King's Fawn granted immense power to the sword but also cursed it, causing occasional backlash that had the wielder's attributes if not suppressed. He warned Shifeng that the curse's backlash had already begun. Shifeng asked if the curse could be broken, but Forge Master Jack explained it couldn't, though a powerful method to weaken it existed. Forge Master Jack revealed that the only way to resist the curse was through the rare lucky stones, which could only be found by chance. Shurfong told Blackie to hand the lucky stone to Forge Master Jack. Blackie asked where to find one, and Shurfong pointed to his bag, revealing the star crystal. Forge Master Jack was stunned as Blackie casually pulled out the stone. Blackie remarked that star crystal didn't sound like a lucky stone, and wondered if they were the same. Forge Master Jack turned to Shurfong, impressed by his resourcefulness. Shurfong recalled that in his past life, these rare stones were rebranded as lucky stones and quickly became valuable currency in God's domain. As Forge Master Jack prepared to forge, Shurfong hesitated, but Jack smiled, honored to work on a magic weapon. Forge Master Jack began forging the abyssal blade using the lucky stone. Each hammer strike brought the system's progress bar to 20% for the abyssal blade. Forge Master Jack pressed on with his work on the abyssal blade. Moments later, the system notified Shurfong that the forging had been completed successfully. Shurfong inspected the abyssal blade, with Forge Master Jack confirming it was finished and its curse suppressed. Shurfong sheathed the abyssal blade and thanked Forge Master Jack. Forge Master Jack bowed as Shurfong walked off, Blackie casting one last look back. A message from Lonely Snow popped up, reminding Shurfong of the warrior from the town hall to whom he'd shared the monster hunting spot. Lonely Snow invited Shurfong to join them in Deathly Forest. Shurfong agreed, mentioning his beta tester's insights, and they decided to follow his lead. Shurfong requested priority rights over swordsmen and cursements or gear drops. Lonely Snow hesitated but agreed, saying they'd wait at the entrance. Shurfong told Blackie about an invitation to a dungeon in Deathly Forest, but Blackie questioned whether they really needed to team up or could handle it alone. Shurfong explained that Deathly Forest was a party dungeon, requiring a minimum number of participants for entry and a better chance at success. Moments later, at the Deathly Forest entrance, people were announcing they needed high damage dealers. Shurfong and Blackie arrived to hear a team of 4 looking for 2 more, claiming they had an expert but lacked a healer. Lonely Snow greeted Shurfong, relieved by his arrival, praising the hunting spot Shurfong had suggested as the key to reaching level 2. He told Shurfong that his friends had struggled, but with Shurfong in charge, he was confident they could clear the dungeon. Overeater asked if Shurfong was the expert Lonely Snow had mentioned, while Expansive Skynet suggested they form a party first. Expansive Skynet and Lonely Snow were both surprised to see Shurfong was only level 1 after the party was formed. Overeater grumbled about waiting for a level 1 expert, while Wertha Summer Knight snickered. Expansive Skynet questioned Shurfeng's audacity to demand all swordsmen and cursemen equipment, given that a level 2 team was helping him. Overeater mocked Shurfong for staying silent, asking why he was still level 1 despite the server's time. Wertha Summer Knight scolded Shurfong for giving orders, calling him an arrogant bastard and telling him to reflect on himself. Shurfong left the party without responding, confirming the action with the system. Shurfong suggested they leave, and Overeater smugly commented that he still had some conscience. Lonely Snow tried to stop Shurfong, but Expansive Skynet said he could leave if he wanted. Shurfong urged them to go, not wasting time on others. Lonely Snow pondered the situation. Lonely Snow apologized to Expansive Skynet, deciding to follow Shurfong. Lonely Snow ran to catch up with Shurfong, while Wertha Summer Knight mocked his gullibility, and Overeater warned they'd regret it eventually. Lonely Snow asked to join the party, and Shurfong agreed without hesitation. Blackie praised Lonely Snow's judgment, saying he wouldn't regret following Shurfong. Shurfong told Blackie to prepare his staff and activate all special options, and Blackie grinned in response. Blackie proudly wielded his staff, catching Lonely Snow's attention. Blackie announced they had an expert and were waiting for 3 more players, while Overeater was shocked and Expansive Skynet ranted about Shurfeng's arrogance. Overeater pointed out Blackie's extraordinary equipment, sparking curiosity in Expansive Skynet. They watched Blackie announce that an expert was carrying the team, urging others to join quickly. Wertha Summer Knight remembered thinking Blackie was level 3, and Expansive Skynet scolded him for not mentioning it sooner. Expansive Skynet was disappointed when Wertha Summer Knight pointed out that despite Blackie's strength, their leader was still a level 1 burden. Overeater suggested bribing Blackie with mage equipment from the dungeon, and Expansive Skynet agreed, while Wertha Summer Knight felt threatened. Expansive Skynet offered Blackie all the mage equipment, and Blackie's quick response made Expansive Skynet confident they'd got him. Overeater and Expansive Skynet were disappointed when Blackie rejected their offer, while Wertha Summer Knight laughed. Expansive Skynet cursed, questioning Wertha Summer Knight's happiness, while Wertha Summer Knight grinned, eager for the equipment. Expansive Skynet's fury grew as Blackie taunted him, and he lashed out, calling Blackie a fool who couldn't recognize kindness. Players gathered, drawn by Blackie's announcement of their expert-led party needing tanks and healers, along with 3 more players. Lonely Snow stood silent as players checked profiles, mocking their attempt to enter the deathly forest, one even cursing Shifeng for daring to challenge the dungeon at level 1. Lonely Snow sighed, realizing gathering more members would be difficult. Shifeng reassured them not to rush, but Lonely Snow noticed the players had vanished and asked where they had gone. Lonely Snow watched the players rush in unison and asked what was happening. The men's eyes widened with excitement as they all turned in the same direction. Blackie, noticing the commotion, exclaimed in disbelief, wondering if he was dreaming, which piqued Shifeng's curiosity. A figure appeared near the dungeon entrance. A striking, voluptuous woman with black hair stepped forward. She was with Zhao Yuru and Xiao Yuer. Xiao Yuer asked why, and Zhao Yuru said men always dream of someone out of their league. The men behind her acted crazed, calling Bai Qin Shui their goddess, pleading for her acceptance. Bai Qin Shui, the black-haired beauty, was at level 2. Shifeng recognized Bai Qin Shui, surprised, and wondered what she was doing there. Blackie joined the others in acting crazed. A loud impact broke the tension. Blackie was struck on the head by Shifeng, while Lonely Snow silently observed with pity. One man offered to pay to party with Bai Qin Shui, while another claimed he was more qualified. Xiao Yuer noted the men wanted to invite them to their party. Zhao Yuru sighed, calling the men love-struck fools, none of whom were good players. Expansive Skynet appeared, greeting Bai Qin Shui as goddess, introducing himself as a top-tier ranger, and claiming his team was extraordinary. Expansive Skynet boasted they could clear the dungeon with his party, leaning on Overreach's shield while Werther Summer Knight fanned him. He scolded Werther Summer Knight for fanning too roughly. Zhao Yuru, enraged, ordered Expansive Skynet to leave, threatening to cut them down. Werther Summer Knight admitted his embarrassment and called him an idiot, telling him to stay quiet. The men continued to fawn over Bai Qin Shui, complimenting her beauty and strength, asking to add her as a friend. The men cowered when Zhao Yuru snapped at them, ordering them to leave as well. Xiao Yuer grimaced, watching the men scatter, while Zhao Yuru clicked her tongue, calling the ones who fled trash. Blackie, terrified, mentioned how scary Zhao Yuru was, and Shifeng remembered why she was called the Flame Witch in his past life. He recalled how Zhao Yuru defeated the guild master of the Central Plains Clash Guild, causing the 10,000-member guild to disband overnight, with the guild master swearing never to return to God's domain. While the men vied for Bai Qin Shui's attention, she noticed Shifeng and wondered if he was ignoring her. Shifeng turned, surprised to see Bai Qin Shui. Zhao Yuru was startled when she saw Bai Qin Shui focus entirely on someone, noting that he seemed a bit strange. Zhao Yuru asked Bai Qin Shui who she was referring to, following her gaze. Spotting Shifeng, Zhao Yuru warned Bai Qin Shui not to tell her she was interested in that level 1 guy. Zhao Yuru guessed Shifeng was pretending not to see them to attract her attention, unaware that Bai Qin Shui was already making a move. The men parted, creating a path as Bai Qin Shui moved forward. Zhao Yuru was surprised by Bai Qin Shui's actions. Zhao Yuru questioned Shifeng's ability to enter Deathly Forest at level 1, but he assured her that seeking party members meant he had a plan to clear the dungeon. Shifeng invited Bai Qin Shui to join them, causing Lonely Snow and Blackie to grimace, while Zhao Yuru angrily scolded him for being impudent with her. Bai Qin Shui stopped Zhao Yuru, suggesting that although Shifeng was level 1, his teammate, a cursemancer with 3 bronze items, showed real talent. She urged them to examine Shifeng's weapon. Zhao Yuru questioned if Shifeng's weapon could even be called a sword, but Bai Qin Shui believed no game would design such an ugly one, deeming it special. Zhao Yuru questioned how Shifeng knew the strategy for Deathly Forest, which had never been cleared, and Shifeng explained he got the info from a closed beta tester. Bai Qin Shui remarked that she hadn't heard of any closed beta testers leaking information about God's domain since the servers went live. Zhao Yuru doubted Shifeng's claim about the closed beta tester and questioned his honesty, but Shifeng left it to her trust, offering a free piece of intel. Shifeng explained that the monsters in the Deathly Forest weren't the main threat, getting lost in the trap-filled forest was. He elaborated that inexperienced teams would lose many members before seeing a monster, and if they survived, they'd get stuck and end up respawning in town by suicide. The others listened, with one challenging him to stop scaring people and another questioning if it was true. Shifeng pointed to the players by the dungeon entrance, assuring them he wasn't misleading anyone and that they could ask those who had just respawned. Bai Qin Shui found it intriguing, while Zhao Yuru was alarmed, insisting that Shifeng was definitely lying. Bai Qin Shui, approaching Shifeng, acknowledged his knowledge of Deathly Forest, saying they couldn't clear it without him, and Shifeng agreed it wasn't too late for her to join. Bai Qin Shui told Xiao Yuer they would be joining Shifeng. Xiao Yu'er agreed, blushing as she looked at Shifeng, which confused him when he noticed. Zhao Yuru distrusted Shifeng, calling him a liar and suspecting ulterior motives, but Bai Qingxue suggested they'd find out after entering the dungeon. The system notified them that Bai Qingxue, Xiao Yu'er, and Zhao Yuru had joined the party. Other players were shocked by the union of the ugliest and the prettiest teams, calling it unprecedented. Blackie beamed, proud of getting Bai Qingxue to join them, while Shifeng reminded him to perform well and avoid embarrassing them. Shifeng glanced at Lonely Snow, who grinned and gave him a thumbs up. The party stood before the dungeon entrance. The system prompted them to choose a difficulty, normal, hard, or hell. The party stepped through the portal. On the other side, Xiao Yu'er marveled at the surroundings, while Lonely Snow remained alert. At the dungeon's entrance, a system screen appeared before them. The system informed them that they entered the Hell Mode Deathly Forest, with rewards and drop rates up by 30%, but the death penalty was 100% higher. Surprised, even his teammates questioned Shifeng's choice of hell difficulty, and Zhao Yuru confronted him. Lonely Snow felt anxious, while Blackie was astounded by Shifeng's hell difficulty choice for the Deathly Forest. Zhao Yuru sarcastically noted that if Shifeng intended to sabotage them, he'd send them to hell, while Bai Qingxue remained puzzled. Shifeng reassured them, confident in his choice, and tapped Blackie on the shoulder, who nodded in agreement. Lonely Snow eyed the many paths ahead and asked Shifeng which to take. Shifeng warned that the Deathly Forest map was full of twists and turns, making it easy to get lost, so they should follow him closely. The three began walking, and Shifeng pointed ahead, startling Xiao Yu'er. Xiao Yu'er asked Bai Qingxue if they were really following Shifeng, and Bai Qingxue confirmed they would trust him. The party moved deeper into the Deathly Forest. Shifeng remembered that the Shadow Guild had sent hundreds of players to explore and map the Deathly Forest before conquering it. The Deathly Forest had 36 paths, with many intersections, but only 3 led to the first boss. The 6 continued walking through the forest, with Shifeng leading the way. Xiao Yu'er questioned Bai Qingxue about the path Shifeng chose, and Bai Qingxue confirmed it was correct, as they avoided all the mobs. Bai Qingxue noticed the monsters at the intersection leaving and thought that a slight delay would have forced them into combat. Zhao Yuru shrugged, thinking the few mobs weren't worth fearing. Shifeng dismissed the mobs, explaining they wouldn't drop anything valuable, so fighting them was unnecessary. Zhao Yuru rolled her eyes, silently accusing Shifeng of avoiding a fight to hide his low damage output. Blackie noted the open area ahead, recognizing it as the boss's spawn point. Upon reaching the area, Blackie was disappointed to find it empty and questioned where the boss was. The ground suddenly trembled. Everyone tensed, anxiously wondering what was happening. Shifeng urged them to get ready. The boss was emerging. Cracks appeared in the ground as something emerged. A massive monster exploded from the ground, leaping into the air. Its claws tore through the earth as it landed in front of Shifeng. The monster, a level 3 boss chieftain, was a savage night rabbit with steel claws, eager for a bloodbath. Its eyes gleamed as it brandished its steel claws. The system warned not to mistake the rabbit, as it only feasted on meat. The menacing boss stood with its tongue lolling, ready for battle. Lonely Snow asked if they were heading straight for the boss without killing mobs, and Shifeng affirmed, explaining small mobs had poor drops, making it more efficient. Bai Qingxue readied herself for battle, positioning herself to protect Xiao Yu'er. Shifeng instructed Lonely Snow to tank the boss, keeping its aggro, while reminding the others not to steal it. Xiao Yu'er, puzzled by Shifeng's terms, asked what tank and aggro meant. Shifeng explained that tanks have high health and defense, drawing the monster's attacks toward them. He emphasized that the tank must keep the boss's aggro so others could attack safely. He explained that stealing aggro would cause the boss to target the player, risking a one-shot due to lower health and defense. Shifeng reassured them not to worry, promising clear instructions and signaled to move forward. Lonely Snow charged ahead at Shifeng's SI. Shifeng asked why Lonely Snow was rushing when Xiao Yu'er hadn't buffed them yet. Lonely Snow was taken aback, explaining he couldn't stop his charge skill once activated. The boss watched, confused, as Lonely Snow tripped and was sent flying by his failed charge. The boss reacted swiftly, charging with claws bared. Lonely Snow paled, muttering that he was doomed. Just then, Blackie intervened, declaring he wouldn't let it happen. A massive vine shot from the ground, entangling the boss as Blackie unleashed Evil Whip. Lonely Snow expressed his gratitude to Blackie. Determined, Lonely Snow charged forward to continue the fight. Lonely Snow grit his teeth, headbutting the boss for 11 damage, but taking 58 in return. The rebound of his attack sent him reeling in pain. Shifeng showed disappointment, and Xiao Yu'er teased Lonely Snow, asking if he was a cannonball. Xiao Yu'er quickly cast a healing spell. She healed him, and he gratefully thanked her. Meanwhile, the vines restraining the boss began to snap. As the boss broke free, Blackie admitted he couldn't hold it much longer. Lonely Snow rose, declaring he'd charge again. He rushed forward, slashing with all his might. The boss countered, blocking Lonely Snow's slashes. As the fight progressed, Shifeng noted Lonely Snow's solid movements. Shifeng and Bai Qing attacked from the side, while Lonely Snow drew the boss's attention. Out of nowhere, Zhao Yuru launched a fire skill, warning them to clear the way. Zhao Yuru unleashed Flame Burst, and Lonely Snow barely dodged it as it hurtled toward the boss. Shifeng was stunned when Zhao Yuru's attack struck the boss for 118 damage. Zhao Yuru laughed, boasting that her damage was still the highest. As the smoke cleared, the boss's gleaming eyes became visible. The system announced the boss's enraged state, boosting its attack and speed by 30%. Shifeng frowned, noting her skill had caused too much damage. Shifeng and Bai Qing glanced at Zhao Yuru as Bai Qing realized the boss's aggro had shifted. Zhao Yuru appeared puzzled, asking if it was her fault. The boss charged at her, claws bared, and Zhao Yuru cursed as she realized she'd stolen the aggro. Realizing her spell's damage, Zhao Yuru panicked as the boss focused on her. She froze in surprise as the boss appeared before her, its claws about to strike. In that moment, Shifeng activated Thundering Flash. Shifeng's slash hit the boss from behind, sending Zhao Yuru stumbling to the ground. Zhao Yuru was bewildered, unsure of what had just occurred. The boss turned its attention behind it. Shifeng noted the boss's high damage and suggested he should draw its aggro due to his agility. As the boss focused on Shifeng, Zhao Yuru quickly fled, leaving the fight to him. Bai Qing gasped, warning Shifeng to be careful. The boss struck, sending Shifeng flying. Despite the blow, Shifeng landed safely and skidded backward. As Shifeng regained his balance, the boss leaped and lunged at him. The boss unleashed its skill, Death Claws. Several slashing strikes were aimed at Shifeng. The attacks rained down, but Shifeng deflected them with his sword. The boss landed, tearing into the ground with its claws. The boss spun at an incredible speed, resembling a wheel. Using Killing Feast, the boss rolled toward Shifeng like a tornado. Shifeng tensed, alarmed by the sight. He sidestepped, attempting to evade the boss's strike. But the attack was too fast, he blocked it with his abyssal blade instead. The impact splattered, damaging Shifeng and draining his HP despite the block. A figure suddenly leaped into the air. Bai Qing appeared, offering help as she kicked the boss away from Shifeng. The boss slammed into the ground, bouncing back several times. He seemed drained as he finally regained his balance. Xiao Yu cast a healing spell. While healing, Shifeng noted the boss had weakened, urging them to attack while its defense was down. He glanced back, reminding them not to steal the aggro then. Xiao Yu felt embarrassed, silently cursing Shifeng for daring to scold her. They charged forward together, overwhelming the boss before it could react. Blackie urged them to hold on, as the boss barely had any HP left. Shifeng's slashes sent the boss flying. Zhao Yuru unleashed Flame Burst, declaring they shouldn't underestimate her. Explosions rocked the air, striking the boss mid-flight. A bright flash followed the explosion, with numerous items dropping. Lonely Snow and Blackie's eyes gleamed, and Blackie confidently predicted great loot. Shifeng quickly grabbed a potion, instructing everyone to recover before dividing the loot. Following Shifeng's orders, they began drinking their potions. Shifeng explained the final boss's surprise attacks, but it was defeatable with proper strategy. Xiao Yu asked how it caught players off guard. Just then, massive claws struck the ground, shattering it. A powerful energy erupted, shaking the entire area. The werewolf chieftain, level 3, roared fiercely. Shifeng and his party remained unfazed, staring down the menacing werewolf. The werewolf felt was confused by what it saw. Shifeng signaled to attack, and they all rushed in to strike the werewolf felt. The werewolf felt was taken by surprise, caught off guard by their swift response. Shifeng shouted, swinging his sword with full force. A massive explosion rocked the area, sending dust and debris flying. Moments later, the dust and debris began to settle. The werewolf felt lay crumbling, its HP drained to 0. The system confirmed that Shifeng and his party had slain the werewolf felt. Skill books and weapons dropped. Additional items littered the ground. Everyone was stunned by the abundance of loot from the final boss of the Hell Dungeon. Bai Qing reminded the group she kept her word, allowing the 3 of them to pick the loot first. Shifeng examined the item list, impressed by the blueprint that dropped on their first try. Lonely Snow and Blackie grinned, snickering as they collected items from the list. Blackie equipped the dark gauntlets and robes, learning the skill Hellflame. Lonely Snow equipped the Iron Great Sword, mastering the skill Whirlwind Slash. Watching the system screen, Blackie called it awesome, sure it'd be great for mobs, while Zhao Yuru suspected they'd kept all the best loot for themselves. Xiao Yu defended their priority in looting, stating they couldn't clear the dungeon without Shifeng's leadership. Bai Qingxue was suddenly startled by the item list. Bai Qingxue thanked Shifeng, and Zhao Yuru, peeking at the list, was also shocked. A potion recipe for the beginner's strength potion was among the items. Zhao Yuru was puzzled why Shifeng left such a valuable recipe for them, and asked him about it. Shifeng explained that everyone played an important role in the raid. Zhao Yuru blushed, caught off guard by Shifeng's response. At the Deathly Forest entrance, a player announced Heaven's Crown Guild's arrival, claiming the first clear, while another argued the Assassin's Alliance would clear it first. The system suddenly announced that the challenge was cleared and congratulated Shifeng's squad for being the first to conquer the Deathly Forest dungeon. Shocked, everyone was stunned as the system notification hit them like lightning. Shifeng and his party stepped out of the portal, one player urging others to look, while another swore in awe at their new gear, admitting envy. Bai Qingxue asked Shifeng to join their Ouroboros guild, but he explained he preferred playing solo for now. Bai Qingxue accepted his decision, respecting it, and told him Ouroboros would raid the Dark Moon Graveyard dungeon in 3 days, asking if he was interested. Shifeng pointed out that the dungeon required level 5 and above and asked if she was sure she could gather a 20-player group in 2 days. Bai Qingxue laughed, teasing he must be joking, then proudly reminded him it was Ouroboros they were talking about. Shifeng remembered that Ouroboros wasn't just a game guild, but a leading organization across many virtual game worlds. Since God's Domain launched, major conglomerates rushed in to claim a piece of the emerging market. Ouroboros, eager for control, would use real-world finances to form a 20-man team in 3 days. Bai Qingxue asked to be added as a friend to contact him when the time came. Shifeng acknowledged Ouroboros' strength, requesting a spot and first pick of swordsman gear and blueprints, prompting Zhao Yuru to ask if he lacked humility. Instead of answering, Shifeng reassured it was no issue, and Blackie marveled at how awesome Shifeng was to land on the Ice Queen's friend list. The system notified that Zhaoyu, Bai Qingxue, and Zhao Yuru had left the party. As the three left, players turned to Shifeng's group, one confirming they were the ones who entered the dungeon with Bai Qingxue, another agreeing. Suddenly, the players fixed Shifeng's group with gleaming, menacing eyes. Lonely Snow and Blackie were terrified, and Blackie warned Shifeng of the odd looks from the other players. Shifeng urged them to run and started sprinting himself. The three ran hard, chased by players bombarding them with questions about which path to take, how they cleared the Deathly Forest, and avoided traps. Shifeng and his group arrived at the entrance of the Dark Moon Valley dungeon, level 4 recommended. Lonely Snow wondered why no players were there, and Shifeng explained that most were still tackling the level 2 dungeon, with few daring to challenge the level 4 one. Suddenly, someone ran toward them urgently, repeatedly asking to be added. Seeing the name Cola, Shifeng remembered it was familiar. Shifeng's eyes widened as he recalled Cola's connection to Tyrant Bear, rank 15 Guardian Knight of Star Moon Kingdom. Cola looked exhausted but gleefully proclaimed he had finally found someone. Shifeng remembered Cola's early days in God's Domain, constantly depressed over unfulfilled ambitions, even kicked from a third-rate guild. Cola later joined Radiant Stars, adopting the name Tyrant Bear, and gained fame. Shifeng smiled, realizing Cola hadn't joined Heaven's Crown, and saw an opportunity to ease dungeon raids by bringing him on his team. Cola explained he had cleared mobs alone but couldn't find a group, so he was relieved to meet them. Blackie doubted Cola had truly cleared mobs alone to reach that point. Cola proudly claimed it was his strategy of prolonging fights that got him there. Blackie grimaced at Cola's claim, asking how many hits he took, noting his insane defense, while Lonely Snow marveled at his survivability to clear mobs alone. As Shifeng checked his system screen, Lonely Snow expressed confidence in Cola's reliability as a tank. Cola got a notification asking if he wanted to join Shifeng's squad. Lonely Snow cheered, excited that he'd finally be able to play as DPS. Cola asked if they needed a healer, offering his friend, an oracle, with some hesitation. Lonely Snow remarked that oracles were the least effective healers, making them almost useless among healer classes. Shifeng explained that oracles, with high HP and the life payment skill, reduced tank pressure by converting damage into healing, and Cola excitedly praised him as an expert. Moments later, Drowsy Sloth joined Shifeng's squad. Drowsy Sloth, a level 2 player, thanked Shifeng and his group, relieved to find a team that would accept him. Drowsy Sloth, rejected by Deathly Forest teams, considered quitting, but Shifeng reassured him that player skill mattered more than class, and Drowsy Sloth vowed to prove his worth. Shifeng announced the party was ready and suggested they head into the dungeon. Upon entering, they faced a horde of level 3 gnomes, laughing and taunting the adventurers, claiming they'd met their doom. They were caught off guard by a commanding voice urging them to proceed. Cola charged forward with shield strike. Grinning, he raised his shield. He activated his taunt skill. The skill taunted all monsters within a 10-yard radius, boosting the user's aggro by 100% for 10 seconds. Lonely Snow swung his sword rapidly. Using Whirlwind Slash, he cut down the gnomes around him. Meanwhile, Blackie unleashed his Hellflame skill. The gnomes screamed as they burned, writhing in pain. Slash after slash tore through the gnomes. Shurfeng's blade cut through the gnomes, moving with lightning speed. The gnomes cowered under the onslaught, and Blackie grinned, noting how easily they'd been routed. Cola marveled at the ore scattered around, while Drowsy Sloth agreed it was a huge windfall. The sky darkened suddenly. Cola asked why, and both he and Drowsy Sloth looked up, startled. A massive mechanical beast landed before them, shaking the ground with its impact. Drowsy Sloth, wide-eyed, wondered aloud why a boss had appeared out of nowhere. The system flashed a message. A level 5 hazard gnome piloted the machine, with a 95% damage reduction, appearing rarely to avenge its fallen kin. Blackie turned to Shurfeng for a plan, but Shurfeng remained silent, prompting Blackie to call out again. Concerned, Shurfeng ordered everyone to flee immediately. Shurfeng led the group, running for their lives, assuring them that once they reached the dungeon's entrance, they'd escape the hazard gnome's chase. Shurfeng recalled a similar encounter with a hazard gnome in his past life. Leading a team grinding for ore, they'd slain many gnomes, only to summon a hazard gnome. Excited for rare loot, they bombarded the gnome with attacks. The machine shrugged off their attacks, and their attempt ended in disaster. They wept as they revived, defeated by the hazard gnome. The hazard gnome, in pursuit, taunted them in gnome language, asking if they were fleeing. The gnome opened fire with its machine gun. Bullets rained down as they sprinted, dodging for their lives. Laughing madly, the hazard gnome kept firing, and Blackie, lagging behind, shouted when he saw what was coming. Blackie shot a dark arrow, challenging the gnome's assumption that he alone could attack from a distance. The attack barely made a dent, dealing only 1 damage. Blackie wondered if the gnome's shell was made of turtle armor, so tough was it. Shurfeng explained its 95% damage reduction, advising Blackie to conserve mana and focus on slowing and controlling the gnome instead. Blackie faced the machine, confident he could handle it. With a swift flick of his evil whip, Blackie ensnared the machine in massive vines. The machine crashed down as the vines dragged it, while Shurfeng and the group kept fleeing. The machine began taking noticeable damage from the vines. Shurfeng noticed the damage and quickly deduced the machine's vulnerability to plant-based skills. Shurfeng ordered a halt, explaining the boss's weakness to plant skills, and they were ready to fight back. Shurfeng devised a simple plan. He would deal damage with the evil whip while the others handled the aggro. Lonely Snow focused, readying himself to strike, confirming he was prepared. With resolve, Lonely Snow charged toward the machine. Lonely Snow unleashed Whirlwind Slash, summoning a tornado that slammed into the machine. The attack left the machine disoriented. Blackie's evil whip lashed out, shredding a significant portion of the machine's HP as the vines ensnared it. Blackie was caught off guard as the machine broke free and turned to attack. Cola leaped into the air, taunting the machine as he declared himself its opponent. Cola struck with Divine Strike, unleashing a powerful blow. Divine Strike hit with Divine Power, dealing 130% damage and drawing the machine's aggro. Enraged, the machine attacked Cola, but he blocked the hit with his shield. Despite the block, half of Cola's HP vanished, causing him to curse at the overwhelming damage. Blackie lashed out with his evil whip once more. The machine's HP dropped sharply, but it retaliated against Cola. He dodged and called for Drowsy Sloth to heal him, knowing he couldn't survive another hit. Drowsy Sloth, healing Cola slowly, reassured him that as an oracle, he was doing his best. Shurfeng appeared behind the machine, ordering the aggro to shift to him. Shurfeng cast Abyssal Bind, restraining the machine as Cola kept running, muttering he was done. Shurfeng unleashed Thundering Flash, striking the machine. The machine stumbled as Shurfeng delivered a series of powerful slashes. The hazard gnome taunted in gnome language, mocking Shurfeng's apparent death wish. As the machine chased him, Shurfeng used Gravity Liberation to outpace it. The machine fired a barrage of bullets at Shurfeng. Shurfeng spun around and unleashed Thundering Flash. However, the attack struck the rocks above the valley, not the machine. Massive boulders crashed down, inflicting significant damage on the machine. Blackie, seeing the machine's weakened state, boasted that the hazard gnome never expected such a trump card, and they could now leisurely finish it off. The machine's hatch suddenly opened, ejecting something. The hazard gnome appeared, jetpack equipped, laughing as he bade farewell to Shifeng and his group, calling them adventurers. Blackie cursed at the sight of the hazard gnome, accusing him of attempting to escape. Enraged, Shifeng released his dark aura, warning the gnome not to even think about escaping. Using 9 Dragon Slash, Shifeng reflected on how rare high-intelligence monsters were, and how the system rewarded players for eliminating them. He sent his phantom swords toward the hazard gnome. Alarmed, the hazard gnome saw the swords coming his way. The gnome activated his jetpack, accelerating to dodge the incoming swords. As the hazard gnome flew away, the system notified Shifeng of Arcus Maddox's successful escape. Shifeng was startled to learn the hazard gnome was Arcus Maddox. He recalled that Arcus Maddox, a renowned Grandmaster engineer, would later create the Sky Fortress Twin Snake Ring and the Gnome Empire, marking the start of God's Domain's major expansion. Concerned, Shifeng realized he had nearly killed a future major figure without even knowing it. Drowsy Sloth, inspecting the machine, discovered a single chest inside. Shifeng opened the chest, finding Arcus Maddox's key and a treasure map. Shifeng, delighted, declared the treasure well worth the effort. He assured the group there would be no more elite gnomes to disrupt them, so they should keep grinding, while Blackie asked what Shifeng would do next. Shifeng replied that he would go after the treasure. 900 years ago, alchemy master Molotov created the Philosopher's Stone, granting alchemy powers to humans, turning stone to gold, and reviving the dead. After wars over it, the stone vanished, later found hidden in the Scarlet Lake, requiring Arcus Maddox's treasure chest to access it. After a brief time, Shifeng arrived at Scarlet Lake, where the recommended level was 10. Without hesitation, he dove into the water. It was Shifeng, swimming deeper into the lake. A giant octopus, glaring fiercely, caught his attention, startling him. Using gravity liberation, he escaped the octopus's grasp just in time. He swam away, narrowly escaping the tentacles. Soon after, he found a trench and was surprised by what lay inside. Inside, level 10 fishermen guards stood watch, and the map indicated the Philosopher's Stone was hidden beyond them, though the guards were formidable. Using Phantom Kill, he sent a doppelganger to lure the guards away, deciding to avoid direct confrontation. The guards pursued the doppelganger, giving Shifeng the chance to hide behind a rock. Once the guards were gone, Shifeng swiftly swam toward the entrance. He was taken aback by the sight of a massive gate. He summoned the key he had just obtained. The key slid into the gate's keyhole effortlessly. As the gate opened, a powerful light emanated from within. It appeared to be a vast portal, drawing Shifeng closer. Gazing inside, Shifeng was left speechless by what he saw. He found himself transported to the Sun Temple, with an unknown recommended level. At the top of the stairs, a magic array awaited him. 2 massive statues stood guard on either side of the array. Shifeng climbed the stairs cautiously. As he neared the chest, a system notification appeared before him. He confirmed something through the system. The magic array unleashed a powerful pillar of light, and Shifeng watched closely. Disappointment washed over him as he saw what was before him. Trembling, he held the Philosopher's Stone, questioning why it was so small. The Philosopher's Stone fragment was an epic rank item with no level requirement, useful for alchemical conversion and elemental refinement. Sighing, he noted that despite its size, it still held valuable alchemical and elemental properties, making future forging easier. Suddenly, the 2 statues guarding the treasure stirred to life. The level 100 guardian statues attacked instantly, but Shifeng dodged their strikes. Shifeng noted the level 100 monsters and the ruthless design, realizing taking the Philosopher's Stone triggered the guards and meant death would drop it. He trusted the game designers had provided a way out. His eyes caught a skeleton by the wall, something clutched in its hand. A closer look revealed it was a transportation scroll. Dodging the guardian statue's attacks with gravity liberation, he charged for the scroll. He snatched up the scroll. Opening the scroll, he entered Red Leaf Town as his destination. The system notified him of loading time, surprising him. One of the guardian statues began charging energy. It launched a deadly beam straight at him. Alarmed, Shifeng watched the beam rush toward him. His anxiety grew as the beam neared. The system notified him the transport was complete. The beam struck the ground. A powerful, blinding light erupted. The fishermen guards watched rocks crumble around them from the statue's attack. One screamed in fisherman language, vowing revenge on mankind for the stolen treasure. In Red Leaf Town, players were startled by a sudden system notification. The system announced the insurrection of the fishermen, triggering an expedition quest in Red Leaf Town for guild rewards. One player marveled at the early event after the server's launch, while another hurriedly informed a friend about the big event. Zhao Yuru wondered who was behind the quest's progress, and how they did it so fast. Bai Qing Shui confirmed it was Shifeng, and Zhao Yuru realized it was Crimson Lake, a place for level 10 players and above. Bai Qingxue noted Shifeng had entered and survived. Zhao Yuru vowed to uncover what Shifeng was hiding next time they met. Meanwhile, Shifeng sneezed unexpectedly. Walking through Red Leaf Town, Shifeng wondered who was talking behind his back. Shifeng sighed, recalling how close he came to death. Moments later, Shifeng reached the auction house. Inside, one player complained about his sales, while his friend reassured him to take it slow. Shifeng opened his system screen, setting the price and duration for his sale. He decided to list the extra equipment from the Deathly Forest, deeming it perfect for sale. The players in the auction house were taken aback, one questioning if they were seeing things, while another wondered about the sudden influx of rare equipment. Shifeng was taken by surprise as he saw something on his system screen. Seeing many stones on sale, he realized that with the Philosopher's Stone, refining them into ores would be more efficient than buying them at inflated prices. Soon, the system notified players that the listed stones had sold out, leaving them shocked. Shocked, one player exclaimed that someone had bought all the stones and magic essence, including those she listed earlier. A player quickly ordered others to start gathering stones and magic essence, eager to sell before the wealthy buyer left. The players exchanged curious glances, wondering who the wealthy buyer was. Unnoticed by them, Shifeng had left, walking the streets, ready to unleash the Philosopher's Stone's magic. Soon after, the system notified someone of a 10 copper deduction for access to a small forging room. It was Shifeng, who entered the small, shabby forging room with only an hour left on his rental. He criticized the terrible tools, noting they didn't offer any forging bonuses. Yet, he accepted that the 10 copper fee was all it was worth. He placed the materials, including the Philosopher's Stone, on the table. The Philosopher's Stone was placed on the magic circle, ready for elemental refinement to turn stones into ores. Using the Philosopher's Stone to boost his success rate by 20%, Shifeng pressed the refine button. The refining process began. Shifeng waited eagerly, watching for the results. The magic circle turned red, signaling that the refinement had failed. He placed more stones on the table, lamenting his bad luck but determined to try again. The refining process restarted. Disappointed, Shifeng saw that the refinement failed once more. He wondered if his luck was really this bad. Determined, he decided to try one more time. He continued refining, the pile of stones gradually dwindling. Shifeng sighed, a heap of crushed stones before him, wondering if the fragment of the Philosopher's Stone was the cause of his low success rate. Suddenly, something caught Shifeng's attention in the pile of crushed stones. As he picked it up, the system notified him of success. He had obtained a bronze ore. Shifeng celebrated the triumph. Inspired, Shifeng was eager to continue refining. Shifeng continued, succeeding after every 2 failed attempts. The pile of crushed stones reached the floor, and he thought alchemy was exhausting. Checking his item list, he saw he'd gathered 470 copper and 130 bronze ore. Disappointment flickered across his face as the forging room began to vanish, the system alerting him that his time had run out. Transported back to the streets, he mused that refining had consumed all his time, leaving no room for forging. Opening his system screen, he realized he'd spent all his money on stones and magic essence. The system suddenly notified him that the silver armor and dark star boots had sold. He had earned 31 silver and 53 copper, plus 3 silver and 21 copper, after handling fees. Surprised by the 30 silver for a mysterious iron rank plate armor, he was pleased his wallet was filled again, so he upgraded the small forging room to a basic one and rented it for 2 more hours. The system deducted 2 silver, granting him access to a basic forging room. The room was a clear upgrade, and as he stood there, the 2-hour timer began. He received the bronze rank 100 refinement hammer, increasing forging success by 3%, and the Scarlet Devil Fire, boosting potion and item success by 2%. He checked his book of forging, noting the bonuses from both the workshop and the book. He inspected the stats of a bronze rank garrison armor, which had a 60% success rate. Lifting the hammer, he saw this as the beginning of his forging journey. He placed the ore on the table, securing it with tools. Raising the hammer, he prepared to strike the ore. With a strike, the ore began to transform. A bright light flashed from the ore as the system notified him of successful garrison armor creation, increasing his proficiency by 2 and granting 800 XP. He marveled at the garrison armor's stats, amazed that it had a defensive power attribute. Holding the garrison armor, he marveled at his luck, having succeeded on his first forging attempt, and its added attribute would greatly boost the tank's survivability in Deathly Forest raids. Shifeng advised forging as much as possible in 2 hours, and while he worked, the system notified him of both successful and failed attempts, resulting in material loss. As the sun set, the clanging of metal echoed outside the forging room. He sighed, wiping sweat from his chin. He reflected that it wasn't bad, 23 sets of garrison armor and a level up to 3. It was time to sell them at the auction house. Moments later, he arrived at the auction house. As he listed the items, players were amazed by the bronze rank equipment and additional attributes of the armor sets. As a player ordered to contact Guild Master Yuan for funds, Shifeng noticed the high demand for garrison armor, predicting he'd earn at least 4 silvers per piece. The system flooded Shifeng with notifications that the garrison armor sold for 5 silver, 6 silver, 7 silver, and 8 silver after handling fees. He checked the shop to see the other garrison armor he had posted. He was taken aback by what he noticed. Shifeng was taken aback by the rare skill books being sold in the shop. Among the skills, there was Observing Eyes, which revealed concealed targets and their weak points, with a 40-second cooldown. Windwalk granted a 30% movement speed boost and a 50% chance to dodge ranged attacks, lasting 10 seconds with a 2-minute cooldown. Earth Splitter, requiring a sword, dealt 30 base damage with up to 300% bonus damage if charged for 0.23 seconds, with an 80-yard range and a 1-minute cooldown. Defensive Blade, requiring a sword, extended attack range by 10 yards and blocked up to 6 ranged or 3 melee attacks for 25 seconds, with a 3-minute cooldown. Shifeng overheard a player telling their boss they auctioned skill books to fund the guild's garrison armor, with promises of a strong start and future promotion. Shifeng thought the boss was just another guild master full of empty promises to manipulate subordinates. He grinned, eager to acquire their skill books. The system suddenly alerted Shifeng of a video call from Baichin Shui, catching him off guard. Upon answering, Baichin Shui quickly asked for his help, which struck Shifeng as unusual coming from the Ice Queen. Shifeng was taken aback when Baichin Shui asked to borrow 15 silver, explaining that Ouroboros needed garrison armor for dungeon raids, with many guilds scrambling for it. Baichin Shui suddenly eyed Shifeng and asked if he had forged the garrison armor. Shifeng stammered, quickly denying it. Baichin Shui seemed skeptical as Shifeng nervously assured her he'd send the money later, and ended the call. Shifeng sighed in relief after the call, noting Baichin Shui's uncanny instincts. Shifeng noticed large guilds fighting for garrison armor, causing prices to soar. A player ran to his guild master, excitedly announcing they had borrowed 13 silver to secure 2 suits of garrison armor. The guild master angrily yelled at the player, revealing that each suit was now priced at 9 silver. Elsewhere, in the forging room, Shifeng opted to rent an intermediate forging room for 10 hours. He eyed the garrison armor, seeing a lucrative opportunity. Enthusiastically, Shifeng worked by the smelting furnace. Absorbed in forging, Shifeng sighed in relief, starting to hallucinate. The ore began to glow, ready to transform. Shifeng cursed as he struck the ore wrong, sending it flying, realizing the materials were wasted. To his surprise, the system notified him of creating unknown armor, boosting his proficiency by 3 and awarding 4,100 XP. Shifeng crafted a bronze rank, unnamed armor. Shifeng was amazed, realizing he'd created an original, rare piece of equipment that could not be found in the game. Shifeng named the shimmering chestplate, adding his black flame imprint, ensuring no one could replicate it. The system notified him of creating the shimmering chestplate blueprint, and Shifeng declared he could now sell both the chest plates and blueprints for a fortune. Shifeng realized that forged masters were prized for creating original equipment, offering bonuses to guild members and lucrative blueprints even if the items were later outclassed. With such a low chance of creating original equipment, Shifeng was stunned it happened to him, deciding it was time to forge more shimmering chest plates. The rhythmic clanging of metal filled the air as Shifeng continued his forging. His inventory soon packed with shimmering chest plates and garrison armors. Shifeng noted how quickly the shimmering chest plates drained his materials, planning to sell some before restocking. Shifeng headed to the auction house. Upon entering, Shifeng was surprised by notifications that his garrison armor had failed to sell due to a lack of bidders. Noticing the emptying auction house, Shifeng wondered what was happening. He approached a player, asking why the auction house was so deserted. The player explained that Deal Striker was selling bronze barbarian armor for 4 silver each, and Guild Logistics had ordered them all, leaving no room for garrison armor bids. The mention of Deal Striker immediately sparked recognition in Shifeng. Shifeng remembered that Deal Striker had discovered the Forge Master's hidden quest in his past life, gaining fame in White River City and an invitation to the Shadow Workshop. He recalled how Deal Striker's actions had led to his expulsion from the Shadow Workshop, aiming for a higher guild status, cementing him as Shifeng's nemesis. A push notification from the forum caught Shifeng's attention. Deal Striker had just posted something. The post labeled Shifeng a wicked forger, criticizing the 5 silver starting bid for garrison armor, and argued he should sell barbarian armor at cost without limits. Reading the slander, Shifeng's anger flared. Deal Striker was clearly trying to ruin his reputation to boost his own. Recognizing the recent server launch meant volatile prices, Shifeng realized Deal Striker was likely losing money just to increase his renown. Shifeng smirked, wondering if Deal Striker planned to mess with him again. He'd never succeed. Shifeng listed the shimmering chest plates at a fixed price of 4,000 G. Players were taken aback as Shifeng feigned surprise, urging them to check out the new shimmering chest plates priced at 4 silver. Shifeng's exaggerated praise of the chest plates' design, shimmer, and black flame imprint left more players stunned. One player discarded his barbarian armor, declaring he wouldn't wear it with such cool chest plates now on sale for just 4 silver. Another player quickly contacted their guild, deciding not to waste time with Deal Striker any longer. At the Forging Association in Golden Sand Town, players in the hall received system notifications. At a table with wine and cigars, someone praised Deal Striker, claiming everyone admired him. Level 2 Deal Striker, lounging on a couch, complained to a lady about guild leaders waiting outside to recruit him, jokingly suggesting he join the strongest guild. Unaware that players outside were discussing Shifeng's armor, Deal Striker dismissed the guilds as insignificant, plotting to crush the mysterious forger and steal his fame. Imagining himself surrounded by treasure and women, Deal Striker fantasized about his name spreading, leading to big guilds lining up to recruit him. His dreams shattered, Deal Striker looked horrified when a subordinate burst in to inform him that the guilds had all left. The lady on the couch was speechless as Deal Striker demanded to know if the player was joking. There's no way that could be true. He stepped outside and was shocked to find the place deserted. Only a dog lingering behind with its mess, leaving him wondering what had happened. The subordinate's news hit Deal Striker hard. The shimmering chest plates priced at 4 silver had turned the guilds away. In his messy room, he cursed Shifeng as a brat for daring to challenge him. At home, he slammed his helmet, noting that Shifeng's materials weren't free, and selling chest plates at 4 silver would only deepen his losses. He typed, vowing to outlast Shifeng in their price war. He messaged a supplier, learning that bronze ore cost 50 credits and iron ore 100 credits each. On his phone, he cursed, reasoning that a gamble with a top guild would erase his debts and secure his future. He dialed the supplier, requesting 10,000 credits worth of each ore. He started typing up a post on the forum. The forum sent out a notification about his recent post. He declared his intent to fight the wicked forger, selling barbarian armor for 3 silver, calling for support. Shifeng, annoyed by the post, responded that he would lower his prices too if Deal Striker wanted to keep fighting. Players noticed the price drop and suggested halting purchases to watch the price war unfold and score a bargain. Deal Striker cursed at the news that his rival had lowered prices, with shimmering chest plates now set at 3 silver. Worry marked Deal Striker's face as his subordinate asked if they were lowering prices further. Deal Striker threw his subordinate out, ordering the price drops to continue until Shifeng went broke. The auction house buzzed as barbarian armor dropped to 2 silver and 30 copper. Shifeng focused on crafting new blueprints. He challenged Deal Striker, implying price cuts weren't his only tactic. Shifeng crafted 5 shimmering chestplate blueprints, vowing that once available, large guilds would train their own forgers, ending future reliance on Deal Striker. Deal Striker's subordinate delivered bad news, prompting him to ask if Shifeng had slashed the price of shimmering chestplates again. The news of Shifeng selling the blueprints hit Deal Striker hard. He cursed and called Shifeng a bastard. Trembling in pain, Deal Striker coughed up blood, clutching his chest. His subordinate, alarmed, watched as Deal Striker collapsed onto the couch. A system notification announced that Deal Striker had logged off. As Shifeng strolled through town, he overheard players discussing Deal Striker's absence, with one mentioning that he had vomited blood and was hospitalized. With a smile, Shifeng vowed that if Deal Striker wanted another round, he would teach him a lesson he'd never forget. A lady suddenly stumbled, spilling her drinks across the floor. Shifeng and other players noticed the scene as a player mocked the lady for selling iced drinks, calling her clueless and questioning if she was new to the game. Drifting Blood, a level 3 player, told her he'd sent his real-life address, offering to teach her how to earn money step by step. A player called Drifting Blood shameless for bullying the girl. Drifting Blood seized the player's collar, telling him he was giving him a chance to be the lady's knight. Shifeng crafted 5 shimmering chestplate blueprints, promising that once available, large guilds would train their own forgers, ending the need to rely on Deal Striker. Terrified, the other players watched as Drifting Blood called them cowards hiding in the crowd, ordering them to leave his sight. Violet Cloud, a level 1 player, called Drifting Blood a bastard, tears welling in her eyes. Spotting Violet Cloud, Shifeng recalled she would rise to become one of the greatest clerics. Stepping forward, Shifeng vowed to teach Drifting Blood a lesson for targeting Violet Cloud. Shifeng remembered Violet Cloud as a no-name cleric in Ouroboros who left after Bai Qin Shui did. She had since risen through the ranks, from a Tier 4 cleric to a Tier 6 cleric god, becoming one of God's domain's greatest clerics. Picking up a beverage, Shifeng noted Violet Cloud achieved everything through hard work, unlike others with guild backing. Violet Cloud was startled as Shifeng drank and praised the beverage, while Drifting Blood challenged him, threatening to beat him up. Drifting Blood was alarmed when Shifeng appeared behind him so quickly, tapping his shoulder and daring him to try. Shifeng's force on Drifting Blood's shoulders made him drop to his knees. Teasing Drifting Blood, Shifeng mocked his sudden silence, reminding him he'd promised to beat him up. Players were stunned by Shifeng's strength, one wondering who he was, while another warned him about the guards in Red Leaf Town. Shifeng assured them not to worry, knowing he hadn't used any attack skills, so it wouldn't attract the guards. Drifting Blood seethed, calling Shifeng a screwer, swearing he was dead. Digging his feet in, Drifting Blood prepared for a powerful strike. Using Rampage, Drifting Blood destroyed the ground, but Shifeng leapt away just in time. Drifting Blood swung his broadsword, demanding Shifeng's death, but Shifeng easily blocked it. The recoil from his own attack pushed Drifting Blood back, though Shifeng had only raised his sword to block. With his abyssal blade, Shifeng mocked Drifting Blood, asking if he was starving due to his weak attacks. Enraged, Drifting Blood cursed Shifeng for looking down on him, swearing to slaughter him as he charged forward. Suddenly, someone rushed toward the scene. A Red Leaf Town guard appeared, stopping Drifting Blood, explaining the attack violated PK rules, and telling him he'd be locked away for 12 hours. Drifting Blood halted, nervously scratching his face. The guard tied him up and dragged him away, as Drifting Blood threatened Shifeng with the Martial Union's vengeance. Violet Cloud thanked Shifeng for his help, offering to repay him despite being a newbie with little money. Shifeng silently stared at Violet Cloud, not responding. Startled by Shifeng's intense gaze, she blushed and nervously referred to him as Sir. She shyly turned away, explaining she only sold fruit juice and wasn't for sale, leaving Shifeng confused. Shifeng handed her a coin as a deposit, explaining it was her advance for the cooking job he'd need her for. Violet Cloud was puzzled. She asked if cooking was the only job. Shifeng sighed, offering her a choice between joining him or enduring more harassment, leaving the decision to her trust in him. Hesitant, she took the coin and agreed to do it. Shifeng gave her a bag of money, telling her to buy ingredients and rent a kitchen to avoid further harassment. She asked why he was treating her so well. Shifeng admitted he noticed her diligence and wanted to hire her. As he walked off, she promised she'd do a good job. Smirking, he suggested she practice life skills first, then, once she trusted him, he'd help her level up and fight. Grinning widely, he boasted to the players around him that he'd kidnapped a godly cleric for just a few coins, calling himself a genius. Later that evening, Shifeng arrived in the slums. Holding a diary dropped by the werewolf felt, written in Elvish, Shifeng needed a librarian's help to decipher it. Walking, Shifeng marveled at the library's location in the slums, pondering the strange manager and unaware of the men waiting to ambush him. A woman ahead called to him, noting he seemed new and asking if he was looking for fun for the first time. The lady, Charlene, a level 8 elite boss, invited Shifeng in, promising a special night full of passion. Shifeng questioned if she was just trying to lure him into a trap to punish him. Realizing how bad it sounded, he tried to rephrase, leaving Charlene speechless, then admitted she was just after easy prey, but that wasn't it either. Charlene ordered her men to attack, and they charged at Shifeng, threatening him for harassing their big sister. Shifeng used his Thundering Flash skill. His attack sent the men flying. As the men lay defeated, Charlene approached and acknowledged his skill. Clapping her hands, Charlene asked where he was headed, offering her knowledge of the slums. Shifeng declined her offer, saying he knew the way to the library, surprising Charlene. She revealed her knowledge, claiming no one knew the library better than her. Charlene transformed into a level 20 divine official, Holy Sister Charlene, and revealed herself as the librarian. This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, don't forget to subscribe and like the video.